Hello, and welcome to the Being Human podcast, where we explore what it means to truly be human, physically, mentally, and spiritually. We're going to be uploading an episode of the podcast every single week, as well as other content on brand with Being Human's ethos. So if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. You do not want to miss any of the content on this channel. On this 10th episode of the podcast, I sat down with Nathan Epps. Nathan is an incredibly experienced kickboxer. He has been training striking since he was 10 years old, and he has fought all over the world, fought at an incredibly high level professionally, and coaches and works with some of the biggest stars in UK MMA, including Nathan Edwards, UFC welterweight champion, Fabian Edwards, Bellator middleweight title contender, and Tim Wilde, UK MMA legend. Nathan shared a great deal of stories throughout our conversation about fights and moments in his career, his training, as well as stories from those names that I've just mentioned. He actually recounted what Bruce Buffer's reaction was when Leon got hit by Diaz in that 5th round and things looked like they were a bit shaky for a moment or two. Bruce Buffer was sitting next to Nathan and the story's absolutely hilarious. He also shared insights as to what it's like to spar with Leon, how good Leon is and what makes him so good, some things about his personality that translates over into his fighting style. And we also talked about the other half of the Edwards boys, Mr. Fabian Edwards, who recently came up short in his title shot against the champion Johnny Eblen, and talked about how beneficial hindsight is and what Nathan says he may have said differently to Fabian in the corner in between rounds, looking back on it now. Nathan also shared his thoughts on what Fabian needs to do next in order to get back to that spot and ultimately capture that title. Nathan also shared who kicks harder out of the Edwards brothers, shared loads of really actionable advice as to how to become the best fighter you can, including not looking to pad out your amateur record, but really going out and finding those fights that are going to force you to get better at things that you may not be that experienced in. And that's something that you can apply to fighting, but you can apply to any craft, really. Loads of gold in this one. A good lengthy episode. We talked for about 3 hours and probably could have done 3 hours more. Great episode. I really enjoyed listening to Nathan and the stories that he had to share. I'm sure you will too. If you do, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Like, comment, share the video as well. Be sure to spread the word, tell everyone about Being Human and how you can't stop binge watching it every week. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting Being Human.
All I've done a YouTube channel now.
Oh, mate, yeah, I was looking at your YouTube channel. Mate, you got like 20k subscribers.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing it?
About, I think it's been 3. It's in the lockdown. Yeah, that's when
you started then? Yeah. Wow, you've done really well then to.
Well, I haven't
because
you want it faster, don't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you're doing it, and you're like, fucking hell, like this is people are like giving good comments and stuff like that. And then you'll go on someone within the same niche and you think their video's nowhere near as good, but it's got like triple the views. You know what I mean? Like, fuck, what am I doing wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, because I posted every day on Instagram last year.
Yeah.
And I gained a little over 1,000 followers. And then my mate posted 2 TikToks at the end of last year and got 2,000 followers.
Yeah.
And it was like, you've literally accomplished more in 2 days than what I've accomplished in a
whole
year.
Yeah.
But it's playing the game, isn't it? It's the algorithm and stuff. So yeah, just figuring that out. But yeah, no, 20k subscribers, man, like smashing it.
I think you just gotta put your time into understanding that, like, okay, I can make a video and think it's really good, but then most people might watching.
That's it.
Point,
you have a certain bias, don't you? Either way, it can be positive or negative. You might think it's rubbish and everyone else loves it, or you might think it's really good and it kind of.
But then you got to realise, okay, what does a person, if you've never seen it, what they want to do? So then the 3 things that I learned the most was that you got to get your title, your thumbnail, which sounds like basic, and then your fucking intro.
Yeah.
So I always put in the first 5-10 seconds like a big knockout or something. If I'm doing a breakdown, you give the person that straight away. Do you know what I mean? And then you make your thumbnail what's the word? Like, some people make them too complicated, I think. Like, you're a YouTuber, like you watch it all and that.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes I think you can get, especially the guys with lots of money and stuff, they get guys with like fucking PhDs in Photoshop or whatever. And it's like over stylized.
Yeah,
too much.
Too
much. Do you know what I mean? It's too busy in that. So you just want a thumbnail that just straight away kind of stands out. It's like a black background, white or red writing, and then just like a focused image of like a punch or something. You'll get views, man.
Yeah, like, simple, but
and
make
put
it
something
stand
like
out.
in a title like he will get knocked out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like an outlandish statement.
Yeah.
But then as long as you deliver on that, you know what I mean. As long as you like your videos like decent, people will stick around usually.
Yeah, see, I think that's what I struggle with. I don't like trying to be like too clickbait. But you have to be.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
I learned that, mate. And like, so I get comments all the time like, "This is some bullshit," and then in my head I think you're doing it. You're giving me what I want. You're writing the comment. You're engaging with the fucking video. Whether you even watched half of it or not, that's the point. You know what I mean? If you don't care, you're not feeling nothing, then you're not going to engage. You're just going to skim it past, aren't you?
Yeah, it's like the old thing.
You wake
Any
up, mate.
Publicity, isn't it?
Exactly. I've got 100 comments, and it's mad. Nothing fucking like at first, you think, Jesus Christ, that's probably not like that's depressing almost.
Yeah.
You're fucking what you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. This, that, and the other. Then you realise, oh no, that's part and parcel of it. You want that. Do you know what I mean? And as long as you're not, I don't think like you're selling out. Do you know what I mean? As long as you're not selling out.
No.
As long as you don't come on here now like Colby Covington with like.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? Yeah. You should come on with like the whole hat or something.
Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah, he takes it to the next level, doesn't he?
Yeah, man. We'll speak about that actually. Leon and Colby at some point, and that fight and what's next for Leon. But I wanted to start with a very important question: who wins in a bodybuilding contest? You or Joe Taylor?
I saw Joe last time I seen him. He's looking
that's why I said it, because I was scrolling back through your Instagram and I came across that photo.
I thought, hold on a second. Have you known Joe for a long time?
Yeah.
I've known Joe for probably 10 years now. And it was after Mark. So I told you about that job in China.
Yeah. Mark's
got it there. Mark. Yeah, so he got me the position. I don't know if I can say that really. Like basically, I had to do an interview, like a formal interview with Mark on a video.
I was going to say, are you allowed to say like publicly?
Yeah, because I think as long as the visa comes through, then it's all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just about getting that visa, and like China can be a bit like you just got to tick the boxes. You know what I mean? So I've just got to do that now.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed. There shouldn't be anything that stops me from doing that. But so Mark's over there now at the UFC PI in Shanghai. And I think he's a senior MMA coordinator. That's the title, and then I'm the one underneath that. So I applied for this job about 3 years ago. I think it was just after the lockdowns, and I heard nothing back. Then by a set of coincidence, Mark got like the job through. I think it was someone from City Kickboxing, an instructor couldn't go over there because he had links with journalism or something like that. And basically, they just didn't give him the visa. So then Mark got, I think, put forward for the position. He obviously passed all the interview process. He got the job. He's over there now, and then obviously he's then put my recommendation forward. And then I've gone through the interview process, but there's a point where like Dean Amsingh was actually going like, I know he's your boy in that, but like he'll be professional, won't he? And obviously he was completely professional, but in my head I'm thinking he's my mate, and you know what I mean? I've known him for like 12 years now, and that's how I met Joe Taylor. So going all on side tangent, that's how I met Joe, because Joe, I think when I first met Joe, he was like a white belt in jiu-jitsu. Mark would just fucking wrestle him in the living room and I get twisted at by him, because we were both kickboxing and Thai boxing. And then one day, like Joe's like good, do you know what I mean? He's got cauliflower ear, he's competing and stuff like that, and he's in really good shape and stuff. Because you know their background, they're just pissheads, you know what I mean? They're just,
I mean, Joe talks about all the time.
So
Joe's told me a plethora
it's quite
of
ironic
stories
that they've turned up where they are. Do you know what I mean?
No, it is, and it is
like,
is inspiring. And the one thing, Joe, since I've known Joe 5-6 years now, and over those 5 or 6 years, like whenever he talks about striking, people he knows who are good strikers, Mark and Jimmy are always the three that he names. So yeah, he's always got more than good words to say about you guys. And let's go back to the start then. How did you get into Thai boxing? Was it Thai boxing first?
Yeah, it was.
In terms of striking?
I think I was about 16, yeah. But I did boxing first.
Okay.
I was boxing when I was about...
take us right back to the start. When was the first 12. Experience of striking?
Yeah, about 10, 11. And then went to the boxing gym. It was you put your subs in a tin on the desk. This little old man in it. At the time, I thought it was the best thing in the world, but in hindsight, the gym was terrible. Like, you would not send your kid there. Had to convince my mum to let me go. She was like, boxing, like that, you can't be doing that. It's bad for you. Blah blah. I was like, Mum, please. My mates from school are going. You know what I mean? And then you go in there, you put my 50p in. No one taught you. It was a ring. The ring, I can't even describe it. The skipping ropes were electrical wire, like insulator. It was mad. You just get, it was mad. And
how did they work? Did they work? How does the jump rope?
Terrible. And I was in the winter and that you were in the car park. It was on the back of a pub in Erdington. So it was on the back of this pub in Erdington. I'd just go there. And basically, I'd go there, have a laugh with my mates. They had a tiny little weights room. It was all like thrown together. Like one of the bags, I'm pretty sure was like a potato sack with just some sort of stuffing in it, held up by a seatbelt from my car. Like I don't know what. Like this gym was mental. You know what I mean? And but at the time, it had like a bit of a vibe. So it had all old posters on the wall. You know, like Costa Sai was the man back then. There was Nigel Benn posters. Obviously Ricky Hatton as well. Like talking like early 2000s. So it had a kind of, even though it was a shit gym, it had like a feeling of nostalgia to it. And obviously you watch Rocky movies and stuff like that. It's kind of like,
when you were describing
I
was just thinking of the
you
gym
romanticise it, don't you? You think, oh, this is the best. And then I'll go in there, but then I was no good. I was not little, but like average height, a little bit tubby for like, a kid. I wasn't like athletic or anything really. And we'd just go in there, have a blast and that. But then obviously you start getting to that age when I'm about 12, 13, and he's like, especially in Birmingham, it's a bit rough, you know what I mean? Yeah. I'm not rough, but like,
was the area that you grew up in a rough area?
It was nice. I grew up in Erdington originally, and then we moved to Sutton when I was in primary school. And it's a nice area, lovely. Parents, good people, nice, good working people. They're from working class backgrounds, but then they've done well. And like going through probably like 13, 14, you start like getting into confrontation and stuff. Like people just picking on you or whatever, and then you realise I don't want to get picked on, so I'm just going to stick up for myself a bit. And then trying to figure out the landscape. I never had no brothers or cousins because my family was all from London. And like, all
so
from all over the place. I kind of felt that way. You know what I mean? So my parents didn't have really necessarily like an understanding of Birmingham or the areas and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And then because I had a little sister, but no like siblings or anything. So you're just trying to figure it all out. And then got drawn into like boxing because I just liked that feeling of it. Like go in the gym, you get a good workout. And then any team sport, there's like everyone else in there, do you know what I mean? And if you're not like the star player, you're like, what's the word? Like pushed to the side a little bit, do you know what I mean? So I always kind of felt like that. I was never like the best at anything. Whereas then you go boxing, and if you get a little pat on the back for something, you're like, oh, this is good. And it was fun as well, do you know what I mean? And I think I dropped out of that when I was about 14 because the gym was shit anyway. And then I think I got a bad sparring incident where I got beaten up in that gym. And I'm pretty sure I remember it. The guy gave me a bloody nose. And then it was funny. There was like, it's an old back of an old pub. There was this like dark room where people put bicycles, and there was like a urinal in there. But you weren't like supposed to use this urinal. But I went in there because my nose pissed me blood. And I was like letting the blood drip into this like urinal thing. And I could hear the lads laughing about me in the other room. And I was like, fuck that, man. Yeah. So then I found a better boxing club, an amateur one called Tyburn ABC. It was officiated in that. I'm going to go there, get better, and I'm going to come back to this one and beat that kid up.
This is a cool origin story.
A little mission, side mission. I was quite a private kid as well in many ways. So I never told anyone at school really. So like when the lads that was like originally went there, we've kind of dropped off and stuff like that as is normal. Like you just go to the boxing gym, but they weren't like getting obsessed with it. They just thought it was a little bit of a laugh. Wouldn't go for another month. Whereas I was like, okay, no, I want to get quite good at this now. Like I could see value in it. Do you know what I mean? So then I went to the Tyburn gym, and then it was like the role reversal. Like the first session in there, I walk in there, you walk up the stairs, the guy's like, right, get your skipping rope. Everyone's lined up in front of a mirror. I couldn't skip. So then they're going like, right, skipping 20 minutes. I'm looking around, I can't skip, you know what I mean? And then all the lads are just cracking on, and they've all got like steely faces. And I mean, fuck, this is like the next level now. Now I feel like I'm getting bullied, but not proper. All the lads just look at you like a div, do you know what I mean? So I think the guy goes, hold the rope in one hand like that and just throw it around, get a rhythm and stuff. I'm so embarrassed. I mean, everyone else is skipping away, bouncing properly and that. And I can't even do one-handed rope. Do you know what I mean? So I stuck that out for about 2 or 3 months. And then one of the lads, he came over with me from school. He was better than me. And I felt like he was getting a lot of like one-to-one time. Whereas the lads, amongst the circuit of how they ran the gym, you do like rotations in the bag. And then if they felt like you were like half decent, you get put in the ring to do some sparring or like get some one-on-one pad work. I kept getting stuck with like no offense to him, like a just geriatric old man. Like he just didn't know anything. He just old geezer, just like barely hold the pads up. thought, this is shit, do you know what I mean? And then I felt like my mate and the other lads were getting better ahead of me then. And I thought, this is terrible. So I'd done that for a few months. My side mission abandoned. I thought, I can't even
abandon the side mission.
I abandoned it.
I was hoping it was going to be like
like
Karate Kid.
Well, it was, but many years later. So like many years later, but like not intentionally. So then I started like just, I don't know, smoking weed and hanging out with my mates and normal stuff. Then I thought, fuck all the sports stuff. I'm just gonna hang out with my mates, you know what I mean, have a laugh and stuff like that. Not being anything outrageous, but just getting up to mischief really. And then I think one day I was walking through, Sutton Town Centre. I was about 16, and some random kid, comes up to me with a fly for Thai boxing, and that's how random it was. And I held it, and he goes, "It's a free lesson. Your first lesson's free." I was like, "What? Free?" I thought, "Go on then, I'll do that. I'll sign up to that." The other lads I was with weren't interested. They were like, "Fuck that, like whatever. Why would you want to do that?" So I went in the first free lesson, and I think I was drifting as well. So I'd like not had any sort of direction. I'd left school. I kind of got kicked out of school for like not really attending lessons and stuff like that. Once you pass your GCSEs, you know what I mean? It's all kind of like voluntary really. It's like sixth form and stuff, isn't it? It's like there's not really as much pressure to go. It's like if you want to do it or you don't kind of thing.
Yeah, you've got to be proactive about it.
I was there playing poker in the rooms, like missing lessons. This is the funniest bit, which is not funny at the time, it's very stressful, but the art teacher thought I broke my leg. I'd come in after 6 weeks and not going to any of the lessons. And because he was so relaxed, I knew I wouldn't really get into trouble for it, which was the problem. Because then when I went into him, he was like, "Mate," he's like, "I thought you broke your leg. Like, what have you been doing?" And I was like, "I've just not been coming." And then he was like,
for 6 weeks.
Literally, mate. And then there's a few conversations between the teachers, and they decided to like, you need to go. But then, funnily enough, I took a test. I think it was for a psychology test, and because that was one of the subjects we was doing. And I got the highest mark in the class.
So when you said that, I thought you meant they made you take
a
psychological
I think I was doing
exam.
art, psychology, and I can't remember what the other subject was. It might have been media studies or something like that. Again, just random shit. I was just like, I just need to find something that my parents are going to get off my back and just tick over. Really, I was just playing with my mates all the time.
Yeah.
That's
what and this was A-levels,
A-level time. Yeah. I was 16 then, yeah. I think I ended up getting to a carpentry apprenticeship and just doing some construction work. So basically, long story, I had no like direction really. And I was just hanging around with my mates, just trying to figure out like, what do I actually want to do? I have no idea. And then you listen to your mates and they're like, "Yeah, what we'll do is we'll hustle car parts or something cool. Like, I don't know, I know a guy that can do this and that'll make us some money. Or like, we'll do night shifts at Asda." And that was a great idea at the time. I was like, "Yeah, night shifts at Asda, and then we can do this all day. It'll be cool." Really, it's fucking idiot. You know what I mean? I was
sounds like a scene out of Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, it was stupid. And then when I got this fly for Thai boxing, I went in for the first lesson. And the guy, it was like, I'm sure they do it at gym. You usually have a free lesson and maybe the guy talks you around the gym. And he took me on the pads and stuff like that. And he was just everything I did, whether I was good or not. He was like, "Oh, wow, you're really good." And I was like, "Am I?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Fucking hell." Kept giving me a pat on the back. Whereas the boxing gym's not like that. It's like dog eat dog kind of thing. You're either kind of good or you're not good. You know what I mean? No one's really actively trying to encourage you. And then I looked at the uniforms and the class structure, and I remember seeing a few of the junior lads, and one of them fights now, Nathan Bendon. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No, I haven't.
He's got a gym down in West Brom, and he was about 3 years younger than me. So I would have been 16, he was 13. And I remember seeing him, he had like fancy shorts on, like the custom shorts and that, and he was really good basically. He was fucking sick. He was just bossing everyone in his kids' class, catching kicks and sweeping kids. And I was watching, I thought, he's 13. I thought, I'm 16, man. I was like, I don't know if I could take this kid. You know what I mean? He's fucking tight. It's like
watching Zach upstairs.
Literally, that's exactly what it was like. And I was like, fucking hell, that's a kid. Do you know what I mean? I thought, I need to do this. And obviously, they were so encouraging there as well. And we were ringing my dad up, and I was like, Dad, like, I'm going to join this gym. I got my apprenticeship money, £2 an hour. So I was getting £80 a week. And the membership was like £60. And I remember my dad was like, "How are you going to afford that?" I was like, "I don't know, Dad. Like, I'll use it as one wage packet a week. Will pay for my month." "You ain't going to stick with it. It's a 12-month contract. You're not going to stick with that for 12 months." I said, "Dad, I will do it." And he was like, he just weren't having it basically. But in the end, I just fucking went back up there, signed up the forms, pretending I was older than what I was. Because you're supposed to be 18 to do that. That blew up in my face because then my dad had to come back in anyway to sign me up because it was like, you can't do a direct debit at that age. You know what I mean? So then he comes back and helps me out, and then I have to give my dad the money every month, and I was just stuck with it then. And then it was like literally every night, every day I was just going to Thai boxing. That was my thing. And because I guess I was 16, I'd grown a bit as well, so I wasn't short anymore. I was about 6 foot. and that you could do anything like half decent in that gym, and like you were just getting like, it's like they roll the carpet out for you. Oh wow, like, oh excellent, really good that is. And I felt like fucking hell, and they're showing you the technique properly. So even just as simple as like how to get into a stance and guard at the boxing club, it weren't like that. It was like, do a jab, you know what I mean? There's no one coming over to you going, turn your hand over.
Yeah, they're not giving you
they're not giving
real
you
direct
pointers.
details.
No, man. It's just like, so you might be doing that on the bag, just doing your own thing, and then you get called to spar, and you're just like, all right, fucking hell. Whereas at this one, it was like everything was controlled sparring. Everyone was kind of like mollycoddled, really. And I liked it though, because it made me, as maybe not the most confident person.
Yeah, gave you that encouragement.
Yeah,
that
encouragement and safety as well. So I was like, oh yeah. And then before I knew it, I was just like, I think I've been training about 6 months, and the lads were like, you shouldn't do a fight. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. Like, fucking, let me just get this good first. So I was a bit of a perfectionist as well. I was like, let me just get like this round, let's get perfect, you know what I mean?
Because that's a short space of time. How with the bits that you did in the boxing gym when you were 10, and then that bit of Thai that you did when you were a little bit older, how much of that did that give you kind of like a solid base going into those 6 months?
Yeah. And I think more than anything, I was just game. Like I think I was naturally quite a tough kid, not like aggressive or anything, but I could just take.
You were happy to fight.
Punishment, you know what I mean? Like I could endure suffering. Do you know what I mean? I think
you didn't have to get over the getting hit.
Yeah, I weren't like shying away from stuff. I was kind of like happy to like kind of be in there, I guess. And that probably did come from the boxing as well. And then my dad's always been a big like gym goer, so he's like a big geezer. When I was a kid, he's like 20 stone, weight, no gear, like clean, natural guy, healthy guy. But because of that, I think I'd always had someone that had like a physicality about him. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was big. Do you know what I mean? Everyone kind of looked at that. He's a big guy. Do you know what I mean? He's Terminator. They used to call him it. Like my cousin did. He's like Terminator. Well, can he have a leather jacket and that? He was in good shape. So I was always like quite physical like that, but I wasn't like naturally like I'd say getting the technique perfect, or I couldn't pick it up straight away. Do you know what I mean? So I just thought, you know, okay, I've got to go. I just went home and did the maths. Do you know what I mean? I thought, okay, I like this. I want to be good. I want to be like that kid that saw Nathan Bendon like sweeping people. I want to be good. And I was thinking like, well, he's been training for this long already. I did a little maths in my head. Okay, so how many hours a week? He's been doing 3 hours a week. Like, you know, 4 weeks of the month. Add that up over the year. I was like, okay, fucking hell. I've got some work to catch up. Do you know what I mean? So then I'll be like, okay, I've got to go every day minimum. I have to go 4 or 5 days a week minimum, whatever classes I'm allowed to attend. And then because I was a nice, quite helpful person as well, the instructors actually liked me being there. So if I was on the pads with a woman, I wouldn't like smash the pads and stuff like that. So then because of that, when I got a bit better, they allowed me to still do the beginners class. So at one point I was coming in, I'd finish my carpentry apprenticeship and I'd go straight to the gym, and then I'd go like 5, 6, 7 for the classes. And then I'd do that 5 days a week.
So 3 hours straight.
But it wasn't hard. It was like a beginner's class at Hardy Wall. It's not that bad, is it? It's like you run around, you do a few sit-ups, a generic warm-up. Yeah. Half the time I'm doing technique, I'm obviously thinking I just want to spar all the time. But then like, you know, I was happy to do the technique and then do that the next class, you know what I mean? So it wasn't like massively intense, not like Thailand where you get flogged, you know what I mean? So it was quite easy. I wasn't like getting run down. But then in hindsight, I was very, very much able to pick up all the technique that way. So I got very good at all the basics really quick. Because I was going in there and just doing like, just jab, cross, roundhouse kick, you know what I mean?
Repetition.
Over and over again. And then everyone was so nice and welcome at the gym as well. Like K-Star this was. Like it just enabled me to stay there. Go in there, it felt like a home. You know, go from my gym, from my work even, straight to the gym. And I wasn't like, oh, gym tonight. I loved it. I couldn't wait to go, do you know what I mean? I'd go there, stay there 2-3 hours. Then on a Saturday morning, I'd make sure to go there. And even then when I was getting like lagging out my head on a Friday and Saturday night, I would still go to the gym. I'd still go to the football on a Saturday afternoon, but I'd go to the gym in the morning. So sometimes I'd go do my morning Thai boxing and then go straight to a Villa game. That's how, like, I knew I had to get my training. There was no excuse to miss it, you know what I mean? I thought everything else kind of became like a side thing, just so I could go to the gym. It's like, as long as I go to work, my dad's going to be cool with me. I'm still going to be able to live at home and stuff like that, but I'm just going to be able to go to the gym. And obviously supporting that, got a little bit of money. And obviously, the older you start getting though, it's quite like a childish mindset, because it's like, okay, what I'm earning for an apprenticeship isn't good. It's not a lot of money. And then I'm spending all my time in here. It's like, where's this going? Like, I need to earn money.
You start asking those. You start looking into the future.
And then obviously you start looking at people around you, like your mates, and about you, like you had a mate that had a good job quite early, or like a good girlfriend or something. You start thinking, okay, he's leveling up in life a little bit, and I'm kind of not. You know what I mean? So
there's always that comparison, isn't
there? Yeah, literally, and that's the thief of joy in it. You know what I mean? If you keep looking at everyone else and comparing yourself, then it takes away from your own enjoyment, doesn't it? But even though that was happening, I was like, okay, well, how can I like create that within Thai box? I knew I had to do the fights then. So I went from being like, I wanted to fight just to kind of test it, then being like, okay, I need to start thinking like this is how could it be a career? And I'd go home before YouTube was big and stuff like that. You didn't have the exposure to the athletes. So like, like we've got Instagram now. It's like, oh, I know what Jimmy's probably had for breakfast today. Whereas back then, you didn't have a fucking clue.
Yeah, you had to really scour the internet.
Like literally, and I was quite good at that anyway. So I was like, right, let me go into forums. It was all forums and stuff like that. And then I'd watch the K1 Max, and then Damien Trainer, who's one of the head instructors at K-Star, he was sad. He'd give me DVDs or something. I'd go and watch a DVD of Raymond Decker's, and it'd be like, I don't know, like 2 hours of his fights. I'd be like, man, what was he doing? Like, where did he go? Oh, that was Thailand. I went there as well. And he'd tell me bits and pieces, fill in the information. And then I'd like asking him, how much you get paid? And it was shit, you know what I mean? But everyone kind of had, at this point in time, especially around Thai boxing, like, Liam Harrison, stuff like that. Like, there's like a veil over it, because at this point in time, they'd go in the pub and no one knew who the fuck they were, because there's no social media. So it's like they are the best at what they do, but no one gives a fuck, because it's a minority sport. It's not on TV. You're lucky if you're in the back of your local newspaper for a clipping that your trainer would send that off. It's not like they come to you. It's like your trainer will go, oh, you want a British title? I'll send that to the local paper for gym exposure, to get some members from the area. So it wasn't like there was anyone like actively seeking out to expose the sport. So then therefore, when I'm trying to craft out a career path, I'm thinking, oh, this doesn't sound very solid, does it? Like, this is something that I really love and enjoy. And then I'm trying to think, well, how can I make money out of it? And obviously I was quite, like what's the word? A bit self-conscious, I guess, in terms of, like, I never thought much of myself. And then I'd never see myself like coaching. Well, why Damon's had all these fights? Oh, I can't coach. I've got to have at least like how many fights to do that. And then how can I support myself doing that? And then one day I was on the pads, and then Steve Logan, one of the trainers, he came to the other gym. So he's got like multiple gyms. So he wouldn't really be at the one I was training at. One day came in to cover a class. I think I was 17 at this point, or 18, and he took me on the pads. And I think the third kick, and he went, fucking hell. He was like, wow, do that again. He was like, fucking hell, you're really good. Like, what weight are you? And I told him, I'm like 76 kilo. He goes, oh, if we get you to 70. He just said it like that, and he done this little face. He'll do this, Steve, right out with his mouth. I go, I'm thinking, like, what are you thinking? And he's like, oh, yeah, K1 Max. He said it really like blasé. There's a bit of money in that. And that stuck with me. What money? Like, what is it? Kickboxing. Googled that, looked at all the fighters at 70 kilo. Thought, okay, that's actually a career then. They're all fighting over in Japan. Masato at the time, he had a Ferrari. And you're like, fucking hell, that's not just money, that's like, that's tangible, money. Man. Do you know what I mean? Mixed martial arts at this point, it's like dark ages, really. It's like America. And
yeah, what year was this? This was
2010 or 9, 8 or no, maybe even 2008, yeah. So UTC wasn't even open. That opened in 2010, I think. So all of this is happening. I think I started 2006. Those first couple of years, like, I had an amateur fight here, amateur fight there. And
how did your first fight go, by the way?
I lost.
Yeah.
Complete stitch up as well. But it was quite funny. Like, that was a mad experience as well. Like, my dad, he's been to 2 fights, two of my amateur fights. I think it was fight number 1, fight number 3, lost them both. He's never been to one ever since. And it was funny. So we go to this venue.
Never since then, just those two.
And first one, so we go out there now. We go to this show. I think it was Warrington. My dad, we'd gone to rugby matches when we was kids, because I played rugby on a Sunday to get out going to church when I was like 8 or 9. So that became part of like mine and my dad's bonding thing. Like every Sunday we'd go to these rugby matches for the local team. So it was kind of like doing that again. So he was like, right, I'm doing this kickboxing fight. Dad, he's like, okay, amateur rules and stuff. He's like, okay. He didn't think much of it all. He thought what I was doing was stupid anyway. He's like, you're spending all this time there. I'm glad you're not getting into trouble, but really, like, what's your life path?
He didn't see
He didn't really see anything of it, because it just weren't a thing. Do you know what I mean? So we've gone up to this, and then it was funny. Like, because I was at another gym out of the main K-Star. I was at a smaller version of K-Star, basically. And there'd been a bit of like a changeover. So the main instructor, Henry Clemson, he'd left. He was my first instructor within that's Leon's main striking coach now. He was my main coach when I first started, and then he'd left once I'd been about a year in. So then coming up for my first fight, there's another instructor, a new guy, but he honestly, mate, like, don't want to name names and that, but he was a bit of a clown, you know what I mean? He was a nice guy, but he was like, in hindsight, he wasn't a Thai boxing instructor. He ended up working in a prison and all sorts of things. Like,
okay, so just kind of like local
jobs and stuff.
Tough guy. Yeah,
He's a nice geezer in that. I don't think it was that he was a tough guy. I think he had a couple of fights, and then like that, the opportunity to have a job there kind of fell into his lap, and he just took it. And then he was using the job just kind of like as, oh, this is an easy job. He wasn't like enthusiastic really about coaching. So it was like leading up to my first fight, I had all this changeover instructor. And then he told me the wrong time. So he goes, yeah, get to the venue for this time. So me and my dad drive up to Warrington. We get there at like, I think it was 11:30 we get there for this 12 o'clock thing, like what I'd been told. So we're there and we're like, no one's there. Another hour goes by. But how funny is this as well? One of the other guys from this small gym, there's me and this one of the guys fighting on this show. He comes up and he got there early as well. And he's like, is Scott coming? We're like, nah. So we're like, wait for Steve. And then I text Steve, or I think he texts Steve. Steve goes, we ain't getting there until I think 4 or 5 p.m. So I look at my dad and I'm like, what do we do? My dad's like, oh, what do we do now? We're in a leisure centre, you know, it's like a swimming baths and that. There's nothing to eat, sausage rolls and that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking hell. Then he goes, we're going to go to the pub for some food. Do you want to come? And I was like, nah, I think I'll stay here. I'll stay here with my dad. He ended up going to the pub, not coming back. He just left.
Oh my God.
So I don't know what happened there. Do you know what I mean?
Chucked his spikes in the bag, went to the pub.
We've gone all the way to Warrington, like 2 hours drive. We've never seen the guy again. So I'm sat there and I'm thinking, fucking hell. So Steve eventually comes. So it's been like a long day, and I'm obviously a bit nervous as well, because I've never done it before. And then a few of the lads from the other case, so the main one, the Perry Bar one, they all turn up in their like entourage. But because I didn't know them, I didn't have anyone to sit with, do you know what I mean? So I was kind of in my own thoughts with my dad. But Dad obviously doesn't know anything about stand-up sports. He's just saying like the wrong stuff all the time. He's like, what are you going to do in that? Like, I'm like, no, Dad.
I don't know. I was hoping you'd tell me.
You know what I mean? I was just going to get in there, do you know what I mean? And then, so long story short, I ended up fighting the main event of this show. It's my first fight. The guy I'm fighting, I was 75 kilogram on the day weighing. There was a bit of a shuffle around with the matchups. The guy was 85 kilo, but he wasn't big, and he'd had 14 fights already from the local club. He was like he was on the poster, and I'm thinking, fucking hell, this is.
So you'd been set up,
mad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what's going on here. And then Steve, like, I don't know what he was thinking, but he just kind of let me go ahead with it. One of the main lads that I'd also been like, I guess like a bit of a rivalry with from the Perry Bar Club, we'd done an inter club together. So my K-Star fought against his K-Star, but in a no decision bout, and he kicked the shit out of me basically. This lad did. So I had a bit of a beer in my bonnet. I thought, it's the same weight as me and stuff like that. And I thought, fucking hell, like, I don't want to lose now. And then he fought and he won by head kick knockouts. Then I'm just like, I felt extra pressure then. I thought, I want everyone to think I'm good as well. So then I ended up fighting the last fight of the night. We're waiting there from like 11:30. It's now 9:30 at night. I end up forgetting my gum shield. So then we have to do a boil and bite in the leisure centre swimming bath cafe or whatever it is. Literally, I've got all my stuff on and that. And then they go, where's your gum shield? And I go, oh, fuck. We have to go and do this really quick. Luckily, Steve had one. Put it in. After the fight and stuff like that. It was I don't know if you've ever fought before.
Not striking, no.
Is it just a blur? What have you done? Like, done grappling?
Grappling. I'm a grappler.
So your first grappling match, did you feel that like, what's happening?
I've got a bit, no, because I think grappling is a bit different in the sense that I suppose I was fairly experienced for my category when I did my first match, because I kind of really got into it over COVID, so I had a lot of training before I went into my first match, so I felt quite prepared.
As a white belt?
I did, I did lose it, so obviously wasn't the most prepared, but
in the same boat then, mate.
yeah.
Lost the day, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but and I actually did then win my second and lose my third. So
there you go. That's how I went. That's my career.
Good pattern. But yeah, I do think grappling is a bit different anyway, because obviously it's obviously, you know, high impact, fast pace and everything, but it is different to striking in that striking it can be over, you're out unconscious in a split second. So I do think it is a bit different in that sense.
I think though, my first striking one, you're not really, that can happen, but you're not even really aware of it. You're so like naive to the whole thing. You just think, and you're obviously just full of beans when you think, well, that's not going to happen to me.
You think it wasn't more to do with like the actual nature of it. It was just your first competitive
yeah,
experience.
in front of a crowd and stuff like that. I think that was the main thing. I think when there's other people watching you and stuff, and you don't know like who the opponent is, no matter what sport you're doing, that's like and obviously the pressure of yourself. You're like, oh, I don't want to get embarrassed here. It's not so much even like losing or getting knocked out or even like getting submitted. I think it's just like, oh, fucking hell, I don't want to look like a sausage edge.
It's like the external.
That's what it is.
Think.
That's what, have you heard like Conor McGregor describe it as like, it's all smoke and mirrors. You know what I mean? As much as that guy says a lot of nonsense, he does say some sense as well. And that was the one thing that I feel like I've heard him say where I was like, yeah, that's very true. And Israel Adesanya said the same thing. I spent a bit of time with him in China, and the main thing you pick up from him is all that aspects of it, like the psychological, like how to deal with the cameras and the spectacle of it all, and just remembering that this is just the same thing of what you would do in the gym, just a bit different. The grappling, there's a little extra intensity and a little bit of bite to it, but that's not what gets you. I think it's everything else that gets you.
Yeah, that's it. It's all the circumstances around you, isn't it?
Yeah, like the waiting around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And grappling, I've not done a grappling, but I've heard it's notorious for being there like entire day.
Yeah, you get there. So some comps, it might say on the the piece of paper or the email you get through, you're on at 10, and then you could be on at 9, 2. Yeah. So it is very unpredictable, and you usually go there in a group, and someone's on early in the morning, someone's on last. So yeah, it is a full day affair.
When do I get ready?
Yeah.
When do I feel warm? And I think that's with like any event, that's the hard bit. Like, so my first one, I'm naive to it all. I get in there. Obviously, I know the guys. I can tell the guys' experience of that. I see them on the posters and stuff, and I think, okay. But I was so like determined, I guess. And because the other lad from my gym had won by head kick, I was like, I'm not getting mugged off here. So I got in there, and to be fair, I was good. In hindsight, I don't think I realised that I was good. You don't ever think you're good because you're always looking ahead, aren't you?
Yeah.
And you're looking at like, I don't know, like the best who's the best in the grappling at the time for you at your weight? Did you have anyone that you look at and think?
No, it's not at that point. I mean, now, obviously all the guys at ADCC, but I've got to be honest, when I first started competing, I wasn't even kind of looking at them. So I kind of only had the people in my gym to compare myself to.
There's still a guy though, isn't there?
Yeah.
And like gymming, mate. You know
what I mean?
exactly.
And all the guys my weight, because like I said, I started training seriously in COVID.
Yeah.
So I was training with all the guys that were still training because they were fighting. They'd already had amateur fights. So I was thrown in the deep end. You remember like Jack Henshaw, like Josh Hamilton, Kieran Ford when he was training, all those guys that were preparing for amateur fights.
The standard was high, right?
Yeah, exactly. The standard was high, and I was just getting smashed every session because I was there really as a hobbyist that then kind of ended up taking it more seriously afterwards. So yeah, when I went into the first competition, everyone was telling me, "Yeah, you'll smash it at white belt. You'll smash it." I was thinking, yeah, I feel like I will, because I feel like I was aware that the standard was very high, but at the same time, I hadn't had many rounds where I was actually attacking people and dominating because I was just on the defense the whole time. So I can appreciate what that's like, where you don't really know from experience how good you are if you're always comparing yourself to a high standard.
The high guy. So I was doing that from the get-go. And then I was in there and I was like, it was all just a blur. So I remember doing all right in the first round and that, and thinking like, oh, that was all right. But then you get hit with a shot and it's like a surreal moment. I'm like, oh, he's trying to hurt me here. And then you kind of realise, oh shit, I'm actually in a fight here. And you get a bit of gusto, then you have a go. Then you get tired a little bit. You think, okay, I need to step off a bit now. And it's just this back and forth. But I remember when it really showed off was, I think it was the last rounds. The first 2 rounds, I think I won the first round. And then the second round, he won, but it was a bit close. And then the third round, I was a bit tired and he schooled me then. And he was like showboating me and stuff. I was experienced. And that was when I stepped out after and I was a bit embarrassed, but I was like happy that I'd done the distance. And then we drove home, me and my dad. And my dad was like, well, you came second, mate. Pat on the back and that. It's like, second, mate. There's only 2 of us in there. You wanker. I remember that.
Did he say it in like a sarcastic way?
Yeah, of course. That's my dad. You know what I mean? My dad is the type of person where, like, I love him to bits, but like he's probably not like the most emotionally like foregoing person. Like he's not going to give you like loads of praise and that. And he's almost
a bit old school.
Old school, but always thinking about like negatives as well. In terms of if he'll think of a problem, which is a good thing because he don't want to go into anything blind. What happens if this happens though? Or like, you know, if I said to him, I'd like, oh, I've got this opportunity to coach at this gym. You got insurance, mate. You know what I mean? Make sure you got insurance. Yeah. And that's my dad. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, you can't be happy for me. You're not bringing something bullshit like that. Even though he's right with what he's saying. Do you know what I mean? So like, he just said a little comment. We drive home and that. I can't tell if he's proud of me or what, but I remember thinking, oh, well, I can't leave it at that now. got to do another one. Do you know what I mean? I've got a minimum do another one and get a win. And that was kind of that little slippery slope. But then going back to obviously this mad tangent that we've gone on, when I was thinking about career and money, whilst like nothing else in my life seemed to fall into place work-wise or feeling like I was doing anything that felt like fulfilling, I was like, I really enjoy doing this. And then how could I carve a career? So then going back to that K1 thing, all the fights in Japan and the kickboxing side of it, because everyone at the time, especially in the UK, they weren't doing like K1 style. That's really popular now. Whereas at the time, it was like Japan and that was it. It was like you do Thai boxing to eventually just switch a rule set and be a kickboxer. There weren't shows that were promoting kickboxing fights.
Because it was, I'm guessing, like most of the comps then were like traditional American kickboxing.
With the trousers.
Yeah, and you
waist.
didn't kick the legs.
Yeah, and
yeah.
It's just shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just does not translate.
Big foot pads and stuff.
Big foot pads. Most of the guys will throw like 3 or 4 roundhouse kicks straight away, like flicky ones, to get that out of the way. And then they basically do sloppy boxing then. It's not really like what you'd see now, do you know what I mean? That's why a lot of the guys that come from those kickboxing backgrounds, they don't really do that well in mixed martial arts. Because the Thai boxing is all about just like power. There's obviously more weapons.
It's about doing real damage, isn't it?
Just
rather than like scoring points
trying
and
to
stuff.
inflict
Yeah.
pain on you. Even though saying that, like you go into stadiums and it does get, once you get to a certain level as well, it is about points. Like you know if the body kick lands, the knee lands, you're winning. If I know if I get a sweep, I'm winning, so then I can go on the back foot now. You can very much play the game in Muay Thai. Do you know what I mean? One Championship's changed it now because with the 4-ounce gloves, everyone's hunting for knockouts and bonuses. Whereas before it was like, you watch the stadium and you hear the gamblers and stuff, it's very much like, okay, how can I score points in a different way? I'm still trying to inflict pain and damage, but like the points element is very much an important part of it.
Because they score the sweeps very highly, don't they?
Body kicks is probably the highest scoring technique, as much as there'll be people that disagree with me that, because it's supposed to be scored upon effect. But Tony Mars, who's one of the better guys in Muay Thai, who's done all the judging seminars, he kind of teaches people how to judge and stuff, or he did anyway. I'm not sure if he's still doing it anymore. And he's produced a lot of like the guys in the Midlands, like Dean James, and quite a few fighters back in the day, really good. He would say that like it's deemed to be more effective. So the body kick, especially to land it like flush on the body when someone's blocking and stuff, is really difficult. So it requires a lot of skill. So if my punch lands and then you body kick me, the body kick's winning. Or if I punch you and then you kick me and then on the knee, that's going to win. You know what I mean? It's like, so I could be banging someone's head off. And that was the thing that caught me out in Thai boxing early on, was the points. Because I'd be going in there trying to win a fight, and then the guy would land body kicks and he'd win the decision. And I'd be like, what the hell? But I felt like I was winning. But like, no, you got to understand this again. Like you fight to scoring criteria. And obviously, yeah, you might punch and knock his head back. But then if he lands the body kick and lands the knee, he's kind of nullified what you've just done. So there's elements of it that you have to understand. You know what I mean? I guess it's the same with jiu-jitsu with like
points and sub attempts.
Yeah, it's a sport at the end of the day, and that's sport.
It takes away from it's no longer just the end goal of knocking someone out or submitting someone. It's that might actually come to fruition. Yeah. So how do I win under the score?
Under the rules
set.
Yeah, and obviously with the gambling in Thai boxing, so like such a big part of it. Like if you go to the Thailand gym now as a Westerner, you go there, you pay your money. Happy days, mate. They're going to treat you like a king. You pay your money. Do you know what I mean? If you tell them like, right, I want to fight for your gym, and they'll sponsor you, wow, your life's going to change forever. Not probably for the better either, because now all of a sudden it's like, oh right, you want to fight properly? Then okay, now we're going to train you properly. Now we're not going to like give you a walk between rounds. We're not going to fucking flog you, because we want to make sure that we're not going to put our money on someone that's going to lose. Do you know what I mean? So you'll see like two sides of Thailand where it's like all smiles and happy. But then you'll see like, okay, if you want to fight and do it properly, then all of a sudden the gym will treat you like you're a workhorse.
You're an investment, aren't you?
You're an investment. You're like, you know what they do at the horses when they lose races or they put them down? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of like how the mindset is over there. Do you know what I mean? It's like, right, you're going to fight for us, you're going to train for free, and but we're now going to make money off you competing regularly, and then we're going to put bets on you with the other gym, and that's how we make money off of you. So it's like, we can't have you going in there and like quitting. So you've got to go out there and fight. You know what I mean? So there's very much, especially if you are good as well, and you've got the potential to maybe fight at a high level. They're going to treat you that way, and you will become a product. You know what I mean? Like you're there to. It's all money at the end of the day. You're there to make ends meet for people, and
that's it. It's not just you. It's there's other financial interests and other interests in you as well.
So that's where you see guys that go to Thailand, they level up a lot as well, because obviously they're getting that level of training. So when I was in Australia, there was a gym affiliation. It was called Sanctionoy's gym. Unfortunately, Sanctionoy, I think he killed himself. Like, he had some demons, man. But like, his gym was notorious. It was the toughest gym in Thailand at the time. It's like 2013, because like foreigners would go, they wouldn't last more than like a week, because it was like there's pigs in the gym. Wild animals, like, you know, like not wild animals, but domesticated animals like pigs and chickens and stuff.
Oh, literally
roaming around in the gym. Like it's concrete floor, you know what I mean? So you're getting blisters left, right, and centre. It's old school, like the conditions aren't great, but if you train there for long enough, and like you can get over the trainers saying that you're shit for like 2 weeks and just like telling you you're rubbish despite trying to like get everything out of you, then they'll know then, okay, you're worth our time and investment, and then they'll start like bringing you up. Do you know what I mean? So
it's kind of like the military. They just put you through hell just to see if you can survive it.
Yeah, and that's the reality of fighting as well. Like, you know, fighting is about like so sometimes you see guys in the mixed martial arts and they've had their records and stuff like that, and like it might look good to begin with. It's like, oh, he's 10-0 or he's 8-0. But if he's fighting guys that are like 1-0 or like 2-0 or like 1-1, and he's 6-0 and he's fighting a guy that's 1-1, it's not really doing you any favours. And long term, you're not doing the gym any favours, because we need to see, is this guy going to quit? Is he going to take a loss and then decide he's just going to grab his mates and go to piss now? You know what I mean? Can he handle that? Can his ego handle that? Is the guy going to get hit with a shot and then be like, whoa, I've never been hit like that before, and just buckle? Or like, you know, you see a guy get put in an armbar and it's not really on, or a rear naked choke and he taps. Like, you need to see that. So like the amateur process for me, like my fighter Wes Tully, I've matched him like Thai style, because he wants to go pro. It's different if he doesn't. You know, if you're just a hobbyist, okay, it's fair enough. Just, you know, win a little title, match you very safely in terms of like, I'm never going to go that route because you're not got those ambitions. If you
there's
no
reason to.
There's no reason
you just
to.
Want experience.
Just have a go. Don't think about it like that. But then if you're telling me you want to be in the UFC, okay, we've got to look at those guys now. How are you going to get there? So your amateur career needs to be like, you need to find the holes. So if Wes wins one, like by like a knockout or something, it's like, okay, can he defend a takedown then? I'm going to try and match him if I can, if it's possible, against a guy that's a jiu-jitsu guy or a strong wrestler. Why? Because we need to see now what you need to come back in the gym and work on.
You've got to run all the experiments.
You've got to run it, yeah, exactly, as safely as possible. So obviously, whilst they're not getting paid, you don't want them getting concussions, man. So it's like trying to navigate that minefield of like, how can I make sure he's going to be safe and not get like hurt? But I want him to get exposed a bit, and I want him to lose. I remember when he was funny as well. When he was 5-0, he had he's fighting for 10th planet in Redditch, and James was just a bit of like I like James, but like sometimes his matchmaking's a little bit like
sus.
It's not even sus. It's like, I don't feel like sometimes there's rhyme or reason to it. It's almost just like, just have a fight.
They're the same weight.
Kind of, yeah. And that's good and bad. But then sometimes I felt like, okay, he's 5-0 now, and then he had a couple of these like white collar boxing fights and stuff. And obviously, Wes is, you know, he's 18. I'm 5-0 and that wouldn't fight. All right. I kept saying to him, you need to lose. I want you to lose. And he ended up having an amateur Thai boxing fight. That's his first loss. And they did a bit of fuckeries on him. They switched him. He was supposed to fight a guy that was 5-0 in Thai boxing. This is Wes's first Thai boxing fight. And they switched him without telling us. And then he fought a guy that was 7-0, but a pro already. Like, he'd already had like quite a few pro fights. He's a really good fighter. Malcolm Jack, his name is. And
but then he fought him as an amateur.
Yeah, so he just jumped in to take his opponent, his teammate's place, who'd apparently pulled out of injury. But no one told me and Wes. And I'm looking at the guy and I'm thinking, I don't know. I looked at this guy on Instagram. I don't think this is the guy. But then in my head, I was half thinking like, well, it's Wes. He's winning. Do it anyway. And he ends up having like this really good fight, like back and forth. For an amateur fighter, mate, it was really exciting, man. He was with the elbow pads on and stuff, so throwing elbows. Wes never done any of that before, you know what I mean? And then he's getting stuck in there. He's in a clinch at one point, and I remember he was in the clinch, and I heard him, he was right above me, and I heard him get kneed and go like, oh, like, and I knew it hurt him, but then I was like, come on, Wes. And then he went back, do you know what I mean? I was like, oh, that's what I want to see. And he lost the decision. And then to be fair, it knocked his confidence a bit. And then I just felt like the change in him a little bit, like he did lose, and he's like, oh shit, like I've lost. Then he lost an amateur mixed martial arts fight, and then it kind of like, you know, it was a bit like ebb and flow then, like he'd win one, lose one. But it's because it was like, like that experiment thing. It's like we've entered that now, and now you've realised, one, you're not indestructible, and what you were doing before, is not going to get you to the top. Now you're fighting like better caliber of opposition, guys with like more extensive records and bigger backgrounds. Yeah, it's not a cakewalk. Do you know what I mean? You're not just going to be able to go to like your go-to move and get the win if you're in a bit of trouble. Now it's like you've got to problem solve whilst you're in there.
You got to see if you can go to that next gear.
It's like you're going to come back. You know what I mean? It's when you're cornering someone, it's funny. Like you're fighting, and it is a marathon, so it's like you can win a round, but then you lose the next round. So when the guy loses the next round, he's not remembering that he won the first round. He's only thinking, I've just lost that round. Like, what's going on here? And then it's
we have short memories, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's so short. Like, and it could even be a 3-second memory. It's like you could be doing really well, and then you get like a big shot, and you're like, oh shit, and that's all you remember.
That's exchange to exchange, punch to punch.
And that's literally how it is sometimes. And it's like, okay, I need to see then as an amateur, like, can he do that in there on the fly? So I don't want him to lose at the time. So we always train to win. I'm not training him to lose. But then it's like you realise that after in hindsight, those things are important. Important part of his development. And then like, you know, how's he reacting when he's just lost the round and he's tired? And it's like, is he looking for a way out? And everyone will look a little bit. But then it's like maybe just that one little word is going to give him an encouragement, and he'll go back out and win it. Do you know what I mean? The next one. And Thailand is like if you go to Thailand and fight for a gym, that's how it's going to be. It's like you're just going to run that experiment. Like one day you could fight someone that's had like 10 fights or something, or you could even fight like a tuk-tuk driver. That's what the classic, you fight a tuk-tuk driver. If you win a few of them in a row, next thing you know, you fight like a superstar show. It might be outdoor festival, King's birthday, against some guy that's some Thai that's had like 75 wins. That's like the two extremes, and you get fucking.
And that can be overnight.
Yeah,
in the space of a week.
Literally, it's like mad. So, but that's why I think more importantly as well, that going to Thailand and doing that brings people on mentally more. So you'll hear a lot of guys that have been there and come back, and they'll say like the number one thing that changed is they get used to the chaos. Like you're fighting all the time. You know, you don't know when you're going to fight. There's no like camp. It's literally just like. Oh, you come back from training one day. Oh, we have pull out you today. You okay? Fight tonight? And you're like, what? And then you're just stressing. You know what I mean? So there's loads of guys that have just been through that have then come back to like a nice like European show or something. Oh, bloody hell!
Everything's organised.
Oh, this is easy.
You're fighting on this day. Fighting this guy.
I've even got like a list of what time I'm fighting, and we're sticking to that. You know what I mean? So I think sometimes there's a beauty as well of like encouraging guys to try and get into uncomfortable situations. And like with Wes, I've matched him a bit naughty. Like the ones I think it was last year, yeah. He lost a fight. He fought Chris Morris. He lost 5 rounds, and someone else had pulled out. And 2 weeks later, and it was a title fight. And then I just said to Wes, like, you're doing it. And his reaction straight away was like, yeah. Like he didn't go like, oh, I don't know, man, I've got an injury. And that told me everything. Then it's like he was willing to do it.
That says a lot.
It's just like he's just game. Do you know what I mean? So obviously, then it's my responsibility to get. I need to manage that game, so not make sure he's getting hurt. But you know, when you watch a matchup as well, you think you can see the danger. Like if some guys, they might not be technically that good, but they're wild and they've got power, and they're like, oh my god, he's dangerous. Doesn't matter how good you are, he's for 30 seconds, he's a handful. He's probably going to give you a white flash. But there's other guys you watch them, and they might be, you know, like much better record and much more skilled and polished, but they're not as dangerous. Yeah, it's neat and it's like it's quite safe.
Yeah,
like sometimes
predictable.
Like, yeah,
in a way.
The better the guys, like sometimes you see the Thais and they're almost easier to fight because I can see when he's going to kick, so I can block it, or when I kick and he blocks, it's like a clean connection.
It's all a system, isn't it? Yeah, and everyone knows, like, you know what I mean?
Whereas the dangerous guys are like them, you know, prime Tony Ferguson.
Yeah.
You don't know what's coming, he's kicking me in the shin. And like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's funny actually, it's like a funny story actually about Forrest Griffin for this UFC China role. He interviewed me and Mark as well. And he said to Mark, apparently, like one of the things he was talking about was like,
Forrest Griffin interviewed you for it.
Yeah. He's the head of the Vegas branch. And then apparently, like, he was asking Mark about like some striking stuff, and he was kind of like, he's very interested, he's a really nice character. And then he goes to Mark, the first time I got kicked in the car, I thought it was an accident. He was like, he was like, what the hell? So that's like where like that early 2000s striking is compared to where it is now. Like now it's all systemized. It was not systemized back then. But that's why sometimes it's like more dangerous, and it's like that. Those guys that are a bit unorthodox, they're a problem. Like you can see a guy that might be like 7-7 with his record, but he's dangerous, man. And it's like they're the guys that I might not want my guy to fight him just purely because of that. And it might not even bring him on that much.
That's it. You might not get a whole lot out of it because you're not going to fight someone in the UFC like that.
Literally.
You know what I mean? You might get sparks because they throw a really hard kick completely naked. You're not used to it.
And then all of a sudden you're like, what the fuck? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But then on the other end of the spectrum, there might be a guy in my gym, and then it might be like, there might be a guy that only fights well when it's all perfect. And then it's like, okay, you need some chaos, man. You need to fight someone that's like a bit scrappy, and it's not always going to be pretty. Or like find guys in the gym that can do that for him. Because it's like, when we're training for fights, like we're slowly building to that top point. Do you know what I mean? And it's like you got time to do it. So at the start, you're open to everything. I'd say you've got a window of about 5 to 6 years to build your habits. You know what I mean? Then first, I think you're very you like Play-Doh in the first couple of years. It's like you can try one thing, and then 3 weeks later change your style completely and try a different thing. Whereas once you get to like 5 years, you're quite cemented. Like you've got your habits that you'd always go to.
That's really interesting. I've never thought about that before. I think that's quite true. Once you get to a certain point, it's very hard to go back and change something.
And then you can almost ruin someone then. Like I've had to work with now as like a guy that's working with guys like Jai Herbert or Tim Wilde. He's a really good example. Tim Wilde came to me 34. You know what I mean? He's been doing karate 20 years. What can I do to Tim? I can't show him.
I did want to ask you about that actually.
You know what I mean?
Tim, yeah.
He's a classic one.
How do you approach someone like him, entering part of his later parts of his career, how that's different to coaching someone like Wes?
Wes is like at that stage where it's like we can not throw the baby out with the bathwater. You don't want to like completely roof it, but he has got that time. It's like if we needed to, we could just strip it right back and go like, right, we just need to go back to basics and like learn how to jab properly or whatever it might be. With Tim, if I start going like, right, we're going to do like, I don't know, like Soviet boxing style now, because that's what I know. That's good for me. Like, that's how I know coaching. I'm just going to fuck him up. Tim's getting sparked out now because he's trying to land like Soviet jabs and he ain't got it in him. It's not in his DNA anymore. It's like you've lost that element of, it's not that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but it's just going to be much harder. And you do also got to be careful. You're skating a line where it's like, if I do too much like of this thing, is that going to take away from what he already does well? So it's like you got to find new things that, yeah, okay, I might need to add something to it. Like you might need to do this, but how much is that going to fuck with what he's already doing? So if I start taking away his best assets, well, what's he going to do then? Do you know what I mean? It's like now essentially, it's like you're turning a black belt into a white belt almost, because he's trying to get him to do something that he's only really been doing for 6 months.
Well, yeah, it could be like, you know what I mean? Someone that's a really good top player, good passer, heavy pressure, then saying, oh, I want you to, start playing rubber guard.
Literally, imagine. And then, but not only do that, okay, we're going to do rubber guard, but we're doing it for ADCC finals.
That's it. There's no trial period for
We've got 3 months now to get this fucking rubber guard shit out. It's like, that's just not going to work, you know what I mean? So that's why when you get to like Tim's stage, we're always adding stuff like between the camps. That's really important. But then once it gets to the camp, my job has been, like Jai Herbert's another guy I'm working with, is to like make sure that we've got a toolbox now. And, you don't need every tool for every job, you know what I mean? So it's like if you're a plumber, you don't always need a screwdriver, you know what I mean? So it's like, while we're practicing that, just fuck that off, you know what I mean? It's distracting. You just focus now on these 3 things. And like what Tim's had really good success with at the time I've worked with him is we've I think together we worked for the Alfie Davis fight, which I wasn't in the corner for that one. Not saying that it would have changed anything, but that was like a striker matchup. And then he fought Saul Rogers. I was cornered that one. Then he fought Chris Gonzalez, and then his last one was Mark Hamill. All very similar. So he's had like 18 months of similar camps. Then all the things that we did with Saul, they just got better for the next one, and then they got better for the next one. That's why I think he's ended up stopping his last opponent. Because in my opinion, the last opponent was the best one out of the 3, but that's the one he knocked out. And that doesn't always tell that opponent justice. Do you know what I mean? It's just that Tim's had
kind of Tim's narrative. He was building momentum with each one.
He built it, and then it got to the point where like he got the finish at the right time. Do you know what I mean? But working with Tim has been like a big learning curve for myself as a coach. Because at his age and stuff, I was always like, I don't want to come in now and try and tell him, right, you need to do this or you need to do that. It's like I'll just kind of let him show me, and then if I watch him and then think, oh, we could do this, or like I watch him sparring and think, you did this really well, we should do that more. Do you know what I mean? Like rather than trying to go like, this is a system, do that. Do you know what I mean? We've got a system for like his movement patterns. That was the number one thing I think I helped with him, which is the most basic thing in the world, is understanding why and when he's moving. So there's certain things that he can do to take a takedown away, like with his footwork. There's certain things that he can do by changing stance and set certain things up just to literally just move. You know what I mean? So if you went and watched the videos of that, you'd see the certain movement patterns that he's done that we've put as like an autopilot. So when you're competing, you want to be able to do things that are like non-cognitive, do you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, for jiu-jitsu, classic example, when you've rolled a white belt, they don't know how to keep like what you call like sticky hooks with their butterfly guard.
Yeah.
They just don't engage their legs. They have to think to do that. Whereas you're doing that without thinking about doing it. You're always applying tension.
There's a point where it goes from being conscious to subconscious.
And that's just an automatic thing. And then sometimes what happens is a coach then forgets that that's
a thing.
He's like just showing you, so we're in the butterfly guard now. He's not saying that like you need to keep this leg engaged as a white belt because I'm doing that automatically. So there'll be loads of things that he's doing without thinking about doing. So he's only coaching the things that he thinks that you need to coach as a step by step without filling in the gaps of like, you need, in order for that to even work, you have to be doing this. And that's the bit that you have to be doing without thinking about it. So with striking, there's things that you can be doing that without thinking. And the number one thing that beats a guy is when he starts overthinking everything. It's like, so with Tim, we have a few movement patterns that I like him to go through like as a cycle. So it's like, without giving like too much away, it's like, okay, 1, 2, 3, nothing's happened, step back. 1, 2, 3, nothing's happened, step off. 1, 2, 3, strike. You know what I mean? So that way then he's got a little system of like basic stuff, like maybe a low kick, maybe a jab, like non risk strikes, like high reward, low risk. Not trying to do like a wheel kick out of nowhere or a big combination. It's like just a jab, step off. If he's having to overthink or think too much about something, we need to just do something. So a little feint and then move. You know what I mean? And
so he always knows where he is.
Yeah. And you're fighting then for, rather than fighting for like 15 minutes, you're almost fighting like 3 seconds at a time. So it's like taking away a guy's rhythm and not letting him settle, but then you're not overthinking like, what do I do? Like, what do I land? And then in that time, you're thinking the guy's done something to you. Do you know what I mean? So it's like
unpicking the chaos of it.
Yeah. And Tim's really good at it. And because he had good footwork anyway, it's like the things just gel together really well. There's other guys I've worked with and they just can't comprehend that. It's like just too difficult for them. And then it's like, okay, you're better off just being an in your face, just caution to the wind fight.
Yeah,
and then maybe, I don't know, letting it fly.
Yeah.
Because if I start trying to tell you even that, you aren't even going to get to the point where you can do something like that on autopilot. You just think like the capacity, you know what I mean, for whatever reason. So like, you're taking a fighter from scratch, and then first few times you've got a lot of moldability, and they're really important. And that's where like most gyms, I think, can get it a bit wrong, where the head instructor coaches the fighters, and then he lets the lower grade guy teach the beginners, because the beginners is the boring class to teach, because you're teaching guys in tracky bottoms, you know what I mean, like how to stand up. But really that should have the most attention on it, because that's your foundations for everything. So it's like, if you have a gym, the best coach should teach the beginners, and you can let the fighters get coached by someone almost that's not as good, because they're already doing all the good stuff. The basics good anyway.
They're able to fill in the gaps.
Yeah, themselves a lot of it, you know.
And that could be a helpful process. Well, I found that for me personally. Obviously, it's good having Joe like taking the reins and being the head coach, telling me to do this and do that. But there's certain times where figuring something out for myself is actually more beneficial, because it sticks in your mind more, or you've found it through a way that's more intuitive to you.
Because I was laughing with Wesley, it was funny, we were doing a jiu-jitsu class, and then like, the gift wrap.
Yeah.
I got the gift wrap, man. My gift wrap is like my go-to thing. I get it from Side Control all the time for a back take. So when the guy's arm, I bring that arm across that way and then use that to take the back, and you put your shin into their back, step over with the other leg, and you kind of pull them in. Like, once I'd figured that out, I don't know how I figured it out, if anyone showed it me, but for some reason that's stuck. But there's loads of other shit that like I've drilled it and it just does not go in for whatever reason. And then it, like I said to Wesley, like, you got to do it though. We were doing something the other day and it just felt like neither one of us could probably do it or would ever do it. But it's like, you still have to learn it. You still have to just do that class.
That's it. For the fact you know that someone else may do it to you.
Yeah.
You need to know it, so someone else is doing it. You're like, oh yeah, I know what this is.
And the other thing is,
like this.
you don't know what's going to stick. So it's like you have to do it because it might stick.
Yeah.
That might be the thing that changes your game that day. You don't know. So it's almost like you've got to do all this trial and error until you eventually get the game that works best for you. And then obviously there's other things with a good coach. I'm sure Joe will do it for you. Like there might be an area where you purposely just think, oh, I fucking hate doing this. Or like it might be spider guard or something. And then Joe recognises though that for you to set up a certain thing, you fucking need to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to make you do that now. And you're just going to hate me for it. But that's going to be worth it for you because when you get it, you're going to love it. But you are resisting. Do you know what I mean? So I've got all the lads I work with. There's something that they hate doing. I can just tell. And I feel like, okay, some guys that I think that hate doing is not going to help them in the long run. But then there's other guys. It's like you have to do that. It's a non-negotiable. Like for your game to get to the next point, it's like you have to just do that now. Like Wes, for example, I said to him, I said after the Chris Morris fight as well. Like we drove all the way up to fucking Preston. I must have spent about £400 in. They put us in a shit travel lodge, mate. Imagine that. They put us in a travel lodge. I turn up, open my bed sheet. There's blood on the bed sheet. I'm looking at Wes, and I'm like, mate,
not the night
I
sleep.
slept in a trackie, mate. I'm like, this is fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I've had to do that before.
So then I thought the next night, I thought, fuck this, I'm booking. They hadn't even paid for the next night before. I'm like, definitely not booking here. So I paid like £100 for that so we could stay in like a better hotel. But obviously all the petrol money and stuff like that. Missed work for about 2 days. And then he just got wrestled for like 5 rounds. Like Chris Morris just schooled him. Like I thought Wes did a really good job when I saw a lot of things because he didn't quit. Because there was loads of times where like, it was that Khabib system, like just chain wrestling.
Yeah.
And then he kept getting to like a body triangle on the back on Wes. And that's a position where if you just want to give it up, you can give a joke up quite easily. And there's one point where I'm pretty sure Chris was quite good under his chin. And Wes is, fuck you, I'm not giving that up. Do you know what I mean? So he went through his 5 rounds. And even to the point where going out for the last round, I says to him, you lost, mate. You're probably not going to knock this kid out neither. But just suck it up for me and just lose this round, please. Like, just go out there and just survive. Just do not give up. Do you know what I mean? So we could go back to drawing board after. It was like we knew that I couldn't tell him anything in the minute between the round. That's going to change the course of his fight.
You didn't give him the Dave Lavelle Rocky speech.
Oh, there was nothing. I knew it wasn't happening, mate. I looked at him and I said to him, mate, she's losing anyway. I said, you might as well throw a few crazy things. Like, if you get the head kick, you get the head kick, mate. But like, this is beyond your means today. So we'll just lose this one. We'll go back. And but then after that, I said, look, man, he hadn't been wrestling. He hadn't really been wrestling for about 2 years, and he was still fighting. You know what I mean? He's fighting Chris Morris, who's like 11-2, like a legit, really good, one of the best fighters in the UK by far at the minute. I think he's turning pro soon. I've really, really rated him from watching that fight because he's composed as well. And another thing about him, why I'm so impressed with him, is that he lost by knockout to Dennis Frimpong. I don't know if you heard of Frimpong.
No.
A loudmouth Irish guy, but he's funny. He's on Octagon, and they've done like an Ultimate Fighter series, but he's on that. Talks a load of shit. I think he made George Staines get upset, which is it went a bit viral because he made him cry. He called his nan like a tranny or something. This is ridiculous. But basically, he knocked out Chris Morris. And that's a point where, like, that's a make or break. It's like if you're undefeated and then you've been knocked out, which is the most humiliating way that a man can probably lose.
Yeah, that's going to go one of 2 ways.
You know what I mean? And then for him to come back and then fight Wes, who's known for being like a puncher and like just kind of take the fight to him, basically, like complete composure. I was like, that kid's good, man. Like that shows that he's able to come back from something bad and not let that ruin or define him as a fighter. He just, no, I lost by knockout, back to the drawing board. Whatever he's coaching, they're doing a fantastic job with him. You know what I mean? And but Wes got fight. So in that fight, he loses. So as we drive back, I'm thinking like, man, I'll just do this every weekend if it takes it. Just because Wes, I knew as a competitive guy, he wasn't like he's not a journeyman, so he didn't lose that fight. And be like, oh well, he was pissed. He was like, fucking hell, I lost that guy, man. And I was like, yeah, but you don't wrestle like properly. You've not been going to Renegade on the Monday with Rocky in his class, like consistently for ages. So you know now that as much as you know that you can punch people and stuff like that, you've got a big hole in your game. And he can find it. You think the next guy's not going to try and find it. You're on YouTube now, mate. You know what I mean? Forever. There's people that can go watch that fight. Every time they're going to fight, you're going to go watch that and see there's a system. So you need to now go back to the gym and learn and deal with that shit. And I will take you to a show every weekend so you keep feeling that embarrassment until one day, if that's going to be your wrestling experience, having a fight, and we're just going to do that. I see you saw sense. I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that and waste your time and waste your money. So I'll go to the gym on the Mondays. And then his last fight, because he'd lost the Chris Morris one, he was so much more composed and he's in the same positions, fighting the hands, like the same wrestling sequences. And this time he was able to get through it. Do you know what I mean? And that's where now let's say he turns pro this year or whatever in 2 years' time or a year's time, he's been through everything now. So then it's like it's going to be much harder for someone as a pro to find the hole. It can still happen because it's just fighting. And
but he's had a very holistic amateur
career. And then it's like, and he can go there as well with confidence in the changing room of being like, yeah, I've fought really good guys and I've been submitted, but I've also got out of submissions and I've been wrestled and dominated. But then since that fight, I've defended loads of takedowns and like I've put in my due diligence. So you can be in the change rooms and think like I've had a complete go. Do you know what I mean? And I was always like that myself when I'd be in the changing room. Like I'd like to know that, oh yeah, I can get knocked out. Like he's got a good head kick and he can catch me, but I know that I'm prepared mentally. Like that's not gonna I'm not scared of it. It's almost like you psych yourself up to a state where you bring it on then. You know what I mean? So I want Wes in the mindset now, like wrestle, fuck me, come on, then you think you can take me down then. Do you know what I mean? You got to have that kind of dog in you. So almost want to face what you're not good at to overcome it. Do you know what I mean? That's when you know someone's going to be like a really good fighter. I can't think of any examples where that's happened and guys have gone on. I'd say Rockies is a great example because obviously he lost to Kamaru Usman and Claudio Silva. His UFC debut was a loss. Then he won one in 8 seconds with a knockout.
The one that everyone remembers.
Yeah, that's the one, you know what I mean? Then his one after that was Kamaru Usman. So if you think about mine and your start, we lost.
Well, so I am in good company.
In good company, man. So Rockies, he lost. And then if you think, what's his biggest strength now? It's probably his anti-wrestling. As much as he's a fantastic striker and athlete, it's the fact that he's able to prevent things from going to the floor. If it does,
and he's even gone one step further, hasn't he? To the point
now
where
he's taking
offensively
guys now. Exactly.
Taking down Usman, taking down
and
Colby.
That's only because of that probably initial run in the UFC where he was like, you know, the era he's from, they weren't able to have like extensive amateur experience. So it's like he was very much learning on the job as a pro. I think he only had about maybe 5 to 10 fights as an amateur. It's not much, is it? You know what I mean? And this is back in like 2000 and probably like 10, 11.
Yeah, that's the thing when you don't have a fancy setup. You've got to...
Mate, you got to make it work.
Yeah, man, yeah.
That's the thing about YouTube as well, mate. I tell you what, I got to my 20,000 subscribers on that from, I always say it, from basically like, it's not my mum's basement, but like it's just my living room, you know what I mean? There's nothing fancy about it. I got a little Canon camera, I think was £200 off eBay. The microphone was probably the most expensive thing. I think I got a Rode, you know, the Rode ones. That was about 100 and something quid.
Yeah. I might have to, ask you for a link to some microphone recommendations.
I'll get the Rode, I would.
Yeah.
It's a Bluetooth one, but you can you put that on your camera or whatever. I don't know how compatible it is with a phone, but it does enhance it massively. That's the number one thing with anything on YouTube is the audio.
Yeah, because people have said like the audio's like good on this, but obviously I'm a perfectionist, but it could obviously be better. These are very cheap Bluetooth mics.
They're good though, man.
Yeah, they do the job.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as you can hear it's crisp, that's the main thing, man. So I think that people sometimes with the YouTube and stuff, you know, they think too far ahead and they get too much stuff too early.
They let perfection be the enemy of progress.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
man, that's 100% right. And that's another expression I use for the strikers are paralysis by analysis. I don't know where I heard that. I don't think I came up with that. I'm not smart enough.
Yeah,
but like,
I've heard it before. Yeah,
you're overthinking things, and with stuff like this, you just got to like go and just pump it out, and you'll just learn as you go. Do you know what I mean? The more you do it, the better you get it, and then you know, even in hindsight, it's like you just do it again if you need to. Do you know what I mean? Like we could do this podcast in a year's time again. You know what I mean? It's just is what it is.
Yeah.
You just put it out there, get it out there, do another one. Like I said, every week. You've said that now on camera.
Yeah, I've said it on camera. Yeah, I've committed to it. Yeah, so I've got that external accountability.
Pressure, that's it. Keep ticking over on it and you'll get there.
It's the repetitions, isn't it? Same as with striking, grappling. Get the reps out. More fights, more sparring sessions.
Consistency. That's the thing with everything in life. Like I remember my dad when I was a kid. My dad's like one of them guys. He's like the smartest guy. He's the most annoying. Like he'll say something, and he's just like, he doesn't give you the answer. You know what I mean? He almost gives you the problem.
He gives you the question.
Yeah, that's it.
Find the answer.
I remember the one thing he said to me. He's like, "Do you want to make money in life? Like, just hang around with rich people." And I was just like, "What kind of logic is that?" But then it makes sense because then as a PT, what are your best clients? It's the guys with access to money.
The people with money, the people who can pay you.
And they're usually the one. Okay, problems I've had with people with a bit of wealth sometimes is they can talk to you a little bit with a sense of entitlement and expectation. So sometimes guys almost talk to me as a pad man, as if like I'm in the cupboard, like I'm Woody from Toy Story. I'm just, until they come in the room, I just don't do anything. And text me the night before, pads tomorrow morning. And I'm like, mate,
you get that, don't you?
It's at work, man. Do you know what I mean? Or even, funnily enough, they pay late or something like that. Because obviously for them, like whatever you charge for a PT, it's such a small amount. It's almost like inconsequential.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, fucking hell.
And they're always changing money around so much.
Yeah, they don't even think about it.
Yeah.
So it's not like a personal thing. Yeah, and then you're like, oh, but then if you actually want to make the money though, you want the guys that have access to it. So it's like, my dad's analogy was like, would you rather like one PT that can pay loads or 30 PTs? And then you got to deal with 30 people. So you just want one, don't you?
Yeah.
It's like my dream was always like John Wick, Keanu Reeves, just do that. Because imagine or Zuckerberg, because imagine what he can pay. It's like, I don't think I charge £35 an hour at the minute. So Zuckerberg is not going to charge me £35, is it? I wouldn't think so anyway.
I bet he's going to give you a whole.
So you know what I mean? Like what you want, and that's it. And so however you can get into those circles is, you know, not, you don't have to do it nasty, but it's like that will open the doors. You know what I mean? It's like a good example at the minute. Someone I've seen come from like in a really short space of time is a guy called Lamine on social media, a photographer. If you go and follow him, he's literally learnt to do video editing and photography like 2 years ago, bought himself a camera, and he went the one way, to be fair, where he bought loads of expensive stuff. I'm not sure what his background is in terms of like his work and that, but he bought like really expensive cameras and stuff like that, but then forced himself because of this investment to learn it. But then when it comes to actually like getting himself out there, he just didn't charge anyone to start with. He was just coming in, can I do this for you? Can I do that for you? And he walks into Renegade basically, and next thing you know, he's shooting for Rocky, and he's coming to Dublin with Fabian, he comes to Chicago with me and Tim. And it's like by putting himself out there and doing things for free and just going like, right, I need to learn this now. And because in his opinion, he didn't believe he was that good yet. Well, I don't even think I can charge you yet. But that's now opening doors for him because he's put himself amongst those people with more connections and more opportunities at stake. But at the start he didn't come in there with like, okay, I'm going to charge this, this and this and make it almost overcomplicated. And that's another thing, people with money don't want complicated, they want the opposite.
Yeah, simple.
They've
got a finite amount of time. Money's not the limit to them, it's their time.
It's the time. So if you can save them time in any way, shape and form, that's how they're going to work best. Like, I think the first session I did with Rocky, not even saying that it was money, like, and I didn't charge him either, but it was in the lockdown, and I just ended up going to his garage, and I just literally said, like, do you want to train tomorrow? Like, I said, what have you done? It was that Gilbert Burns fought Tyron Woodley, stole his fight. He couldn't go anywhere. He hadn't done any training.
So that's when you first started working with him?
When I first started working with him.
Had you trained with him before that?
Yeah. Sparred with him. Nothing positive, man. The guy.
Let's go into it, because I wanted to ask you this. Like, what's sparring with Leon like?
Shite, mate. Like, I've done a camp for Nate Diaz. That was fine.
Yeah, because I remember, I can't remember if I heard from Joe. I think I saw some stuff that you posted on Instagram as well. You did a lot of rounds with him for the Diaz fight, didn't you?
Because that fight as well got pulled a month before. So imagine this: we're going to fucking the airport in the morning. Wake up really early in the morning. I've got all my stuff packed and that. I look at my phone. There's a text from a guy from America. Sorry, boys. Hold it. No fight. No flights. And then I'm sat there like, what? Like, what do I do
This
now?
was the Woodley fight?
No, this is the Diaz fight.
The Diaz fight?
Yes, they pulled it. And then, so he had a cut apparently. But at the time, they didn't disclose that information because obviously he didn't want to say, I've got a cut. Because then obviously that's a potential target area, isn't it? So he just kept it all quiet. But we just got like, and this is the other thing with the UFC in that any promotion, you realise it's like mixed martial arts is the Wild West. Like, the best thing about it is that anyone in the fucking world, like Joshua Fabian with Diego Sanchez, or all these, like, the movement guy, Ido Portal with Conor McGregor, like anyone with no background, David Goggins can do the corner for the UFC. You've got no credentials, and you can get somewhere. And even in the media, you can be no one, mate, and you can get into rooms that you think, how the fuck am I in here with, like, people that's supposed to be, like, superstars? But the barrier of entry is so low. But then because of that, there's almost the opposite, is an oversaturation of it. Do you know what I mean? anyone can do it. Anyone can get in anywhere. Do you know what I mean? So it's like it's the best thing about it, but also the worst thing about it. So when you're dealing with people, sometimes you think, where's the professionalism? He literally texts me like, sorry, boys. I'm literally sat there with my bags. My whole life,
About to get
2
on a
weeks of
plane.
pack. Not happening. No more information. No nothing. And like, I'm just like, what the hell? And Rocky's obviously screwing. Rocky's like distraught. And I was the first one to wake up. So I was there like all primed and ready. And then I'm in a group chat. And this was in a group chat. And I'm waiting for someone else to type or someone else. No one's going. And I think, we've got to go to the airport soon. I'm thinking, he doesn't even know yet. He's still in bed. And then I've got to ring Rocky up and tell him. And I see he's wounded. Do you know what I mean? He's like, what? What do you mean it's cancelled?
That's a good Leon impression.
What? And then you got to check the group chat, bro. And then he was like, what? And then obviously it all falls through. They push the fight a month. And but that's what I mean. It's the chaos. Like sometimes you do.
I can't remember that. I couldn't remember the fight getting pushed back.
So it fucked everything up. So like Fabian was supposed to fight the week after against Austin Vanderford. This is in the COVID restrictions. Fabian was supposed to go out with like Camby, Danny Khalid, and Henry Clemenson. They were all supposed to be there for Rocky's fight with Diaz. So what was supposed to happen is they're all going to go over. Then they're all just going to go over and do Fabian's corner. So Rocky and that was all just going to stay. You know what I mean? Stay in America once they were there. Oh, that all happened now, and obviously the lockdown's in place. So when you come back from the international, you've got to do a 2-week quarantine and this, that, and the other. It was bullshit. So they all pulled out of cornering Fabian. So then I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, I felt terrible. So me and basically Fabian's mate, Kieran Noor, like when I say his mate, he trains with Fabian, and he was an amateur fighter, but he was not a coach. So like,
he's not a coach.
He's not a coach, mate. My guy is not a coach. Like, and to the point where we were in the corner at one point, and I had to go, Kieran, shut up, man. He was just doing like a running commentary. He's like, Fabian, did a jab, does he? Did a jab, did a kick, did a kick. And I'm like, fucking hell, you can't, like, you need to be quiet, man. Like, this is professional.
I rember Joe recounted a similar experience. He said Mark put him in the corner once, just as kind of like a token thing for, just for like the experience.
I know it. He fought a guy called Ben Craggy in London. I know that fight. And Mark banged the guy out. He knocked him out, he did.
And Joe said he was just like, smash his teeth in, Mark.
Kill him. And the funny thing is, as well, in Thai boxing, like, it's a bit, I don't know what the word is, but like, I don't know, it's like pageantry, man. Like, everyone wears these fancy little waistcoats and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've seen it in the corners, like these flash ones and that. Yeah. I see Joe's there in his little waistcoat and that.
Oh,
like,
he had one of those?
Yeah, bro, he had the full gear in that. He's got the K-style waistcoat.
We've got to find the footage of
I know,
somewhere.
imagine. And I think he was probably a blue belt at that point, so he wasn't even like a martial arts like guy yet. Do you know what I mean?
He wasn't even experienced in the corner.
Any capacity. You know what I mean? And then he's there with Mark. And Mark's like that fight. If you Google it, it's fucking hilarious, man. Like Mark just has. He goes out there, just forces exchanges. It's insane. So this Ben Craggy's like swinging big overhands. Mark's just like going into the pocket, just trying to knock his head off. And in the end, he did. He levered him. I think it was an uppercut or something. Like properly slept him. But if Mark watched that fight, he'd be so embarrassed because he was just like, like there was just no intelligent fighting whatsoever. It was going there and throw windy hammers and who's going to get banged out? Do you know what I mean? Oh God, that was literally the last fight he had in the UK. I think before we went travelling, because we went to America a month after that. I think, yeah. I think that's why Joe ended up going in the end because there was a few mess arounds and he ended up going with just another trainer called Adam. I can't remember what city it was. London, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was London. I can't even remember how we got on that topic now.
Yeah, so I interrupted. You were saying about Leon and Diaz, and then how it messed up Fabian's corner and all of that.
Oh God, yeah. So we go out there, and then Fabian loses to Vanderford with my like budget wrestling coaching at the time, like looking at Kieran Noor and being like, I think he needs to get his leg back in. Do you know what I mean?
So it was just you two in the corner.
Us two in a silent arena. There was no people allowed there. It was madness. Again, it was just another thing where I felt that was the first time I'd like done like a big MMA corner, and you just get imposter syndrome straight away. But then I'm looking at Kieran Noor and thinking like, well, you definitely shouldn't be here, so I'm okay. I think it was ridiculous. And I had another funny experience like that. I did Aidan Lee's corner in Bellator, Russia, with the Moscow one before all this war stuff kicked off. And it was hilarious. Like Aidan comes out, it's a massive arena. Fedor's that main event. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's crazy. We're in Russia and everything like that. And then Matty Byfield's doing the corner with me. Matty Byfield. Matty Byfield's got a beanie hat on, and Aidan just comes out to like Jeanette. I can't remember what it was now, like pot of paper or something like that. Just some grime. You know what I mean? You know, you're in a a city of culture.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
You're just coming out to that.
Russians have a very certain
Mate.
culture, and grime maybe doesn't fit.
You got
with that.
UK grime and Matty Barth with a beanie hat, and I'm just thinking, fucking hell, like this is just surreal. Like, am I a real coach? What is this now? Do you know what I mean? And he won that fight as well, to be fair. But that whole camp for Rocky was a bit mad. So then I've ended up coming back after that fight to the UK, straight into a lockdown, and because I had to stay isolated for 2 weeks, and I had a guy come to my flat to check if I was there as well. And then literally I was out of lockdown for 1 day, and then I had to go to America with Rocky. So then I'm in America for 2 weeks with Rocky for the Diaz fight. Got back, had to do another quarantine. So basically, it's 7 weeks
Wow,
off.
that's
like
a heavy
mate.
2 months or so.
Mad. But that fight was like the Diaz one was like an eye opener for me as well, because I'd never done a UFC corner before, and I'd never been to a UFC event. So I've been a fan of the UFC since about 2005. 2005 was, I think, when I first started watching it properly. That's nearly 20 years. But that, when I walked out there for the Diaz one, mate, I tell you what, that was crazy. Because obviously Diaz is Mexican descent, and Arizona's right on the border, so there's a lot of these like Mexican fans there. So we was in the bit where you wait, like the holding bit, and I had like mad long hair at the time. Rocky goes to me, you carried a flag, the Jamaican and the UK flag. Like, okay. And then all the lights go off, and like you can hear Diaz's tune kick in. It was DMX, The Rain. Like, it was an epic track, man. You know what I mean? That guy knows how to come out, do an entrance. And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be right. But it's quiet back there because you're like kept away. You're like, you know, you're in the back. So
It's muffled, isn't it? You can kind of hear
a little bit. You know what I mean? But then I can hear it going off for the Diaz thing, and I'm thinking, okay. And then they called us to walk through. The cameras coming out 10 seconds, and then obviously as we start walking that, and then as soon as we go through that, like the tunnel bit and come out the people, it was fucking mental. Like to the point where you're getting points for it. Like the sound, how loud it was mad. Anyway, I was just thinking, this is fucking another level. This is the place. You know what I mean? If you're gonna do mixed martial arts and that, you've got to be in the UFC, man.
This is it.
This is the pinnacle, man. You know what I mean? Like, you've got how many people's in attendance, the passion of the fans as well. Like, they're just so enthusiastic in the best and worst way possible. And obviously the fight was crazy because in the last minute, mate, I'm sat next to Bruce Buffer, mate. Bruce Buffer's there. Bruce Buffer, for some reason, loves Rocky. Like, just loves him. Dave Lavell's cussing him the whole time, thinking that Bruce got a thing for Rocky and that. He's like, that's your boy. He likes you. Bruce is a really nice guy. And then Rocky, so obviously he kind of half wants Rocky to do well, you know what I mean? He's schooling him, and then when he gets caught with that punch, like, I'm looking at it, and the whole arena's so loud, like, I can't even take in what's happening. And I'm looking at Dave, I'm looking at Rocky, and I can see Rocky almost doing this. I'm thinking, is he okay? Like, what's going on? And they're like, fuck, I think he's been rocked. And then literally, Bruce grabbed my leg, like, grabbed my thigh, he's squeezing it, and I'm looking at Bruce, and I'm just like, fuck, you know. It's like the most surreal moment, mate. Like, it's like
that was brilliant.
Little slow motion, man. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. And I'm watching Rocky, and then I see him, like, I think Diaz goes to like a punch or something, Rocky kind of half ducks it and grabs him and circles off the cage. I knew he was okay. Then I thought, oh, he's still seeing things. He's fucked, but like he still knows what's going on. And obviously he wins the fight. The crowd's going mad though because Diaz punked him at the last minute. So there's a little bit of like an anticlimax to it, you know what I mean? And then in the end, like, so imagine that. So I've done all the lockdown. They booked us, the UFC booked our flights at like 7 a.m. So imagine that. We have the fight. They're like, there's supposed to be an after fight and that. We've got to be at the airport for like 5. So we've got to leave at 4. By the time Leon's fought and by the time he's doing his interviews, it's like midnight. So imagine you just all night in it, man. It's just gross.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You just feel disgusting. I was like, literally, we was in this party bus, man. And they were going, we're going to take you to this club because Paradigm, Rocky's management at the time, they had a couple of other fighters. They were like, we're going to organise you guys to go to this particular venue. And it was City Kickboxing, yeah. So all of their team, like Israel had fought Marvin Vettori on this card. So we're all going to go on this bus and go to the venue. And then we get in this party bus, mate, and I'm just like getting anxious here. I want to go home now. I've had enough of this. It's like blue lights, like disco ball almost, and that music in the back and that. And then, you know, who's the Scottish guy, the big guy, light heavyweight?
Paul Craig.
That's it. Yeah. He's in the back, lagging, mate, like lagging. And he was talking all loud and that, like, so where are you going tonight, lads? Are we going to the party? Yeah. Do you want a shot of this? And I'm thinking, fucking hell. I'm literally just sat there like that, like, I don't even want to be here now.
Yeah, I'm going to be on a plane in a few hours.
Yeah. And then, we go to this bear in mind, this is all COVID times as well. So this is like your first, like, desensitization to, like, normal life. Do you know what I mean? And it was hilarious. We go to this venue now, and Rocky goes ahead, does his thing or whatever, and it's like people to people like this close, and the city. Weirdly enough, I ended up going in with the city kickboxing coach Eugene because he was with Israel and Brad Riddell had fought as well. Brad Riddell had won his fight. He'd fought Drew Dober. He was all calm and that. He's chill, like nice chill guy. Israel's partying. You know what I mean? Then I'm going through this crowd of people and I'm thinking, I don't even know if I want to do this, man. Like, can I just go? And then like Eugene basically, someone like grabbed him or something. You're the Israel coach, and said something crazy to him. Then he pulls out a bottle of hand sanitizer, squirts like half the bottle in his hand, and looks at me and goes, "This is insane."
What Eugene does?
Yeah. And then he's like, "Do you want to go get?" What did he say? He's like, "Do you want to go get a burrito?" And I was like, "Yeah, go on then." And we just left, man.
Yeah.
We just left to get a burrito and that. I think a couple of the lads got some weed. I didn't smoke anything, and then we ended up going back to the hotel. And I just stayed.
What was
with
the
them.
burrito with Eugene like?
I was just like, Eugene Merman's buying me a burrito, man. Like, this is fucking mad. And then, because obviously he knows Mark Timms as well. And then when he found out that I was his friend and stuff, he was trying to he's just a pest. He was ringing up Mark Timms, like voice on it. "Timsy, you wanker, you British wanker. I've got your boy here. He says he can beat you up." He was just saying some nonsense like that to him. But fucking, this guy's crazy. Another one where like he's probably one of the best coaches in the sport, but he's also like a very unique character. Like he's someone that if you could get him for an interview, that's like going to be worth it. Do you know what I mean? Like in terms of his knowledge and that, but also in terms of his personality. I think he's a bit of a wild man. You know what I mean? Bit different.
Because he seems very composed most of the time. But that's, I guess, you know what I mean.
That's
just
the surface. That's an element that you see. There's
it.
A lot more of that guy. That guy's fucking crazy, man. Like and in terms of their training, that he beats them. Like, they have hard training, man. He does. I don't know if you've heard of it. That spider workout. I don't know if Joe's told you about that. It's like a conditioning circuit that they do like once a week in a camp, and it's just he'll just think of as many exercises as humanly possible to make you just vomit. You know what I mean? Like aerodyne bike. Then you've got to like take people down repetitively. Then you've got to like spar a minute. Then you've got to go on the pads for a minute. It's just like rough stuff for 5 rounds to make you just. He wants to just put you in that hole where like you just can barely stand up.
Yeah,
you just got to endure.
Putting you through hell.
Yeah, just endure that, and that's gonna. It's not only like physically probably prepare you, but mentally. You know what I mean? It's just the mental side of things. Yeah.
So yeah, just to circle back to Leon again. Another question I wanted to ask is that past fight with Colby. Obviously, it's always the case that Leon puts on a good display striking, but especially in that last performance with Colby, he just looked so sharp. The way he was striking, everything was landing, and everything was landing cleanly. As someone that's trained with him a lot, coached him, sparred with him, what is it about Leon that makes him such a sharp shooter? Is a lot of it just kind of natural talent? He's naturally very quick and able to find the mark, or do you think it's something, there's a particular kind of technique or strategy that he's actively cultivated over the years that's kind of added to that sharpness?
Leon is, what's the word? He's like genetically very gifted, but he's also very clever. So Leon is the type of person where, like, if you were playing poker with him, he's going to be the one that will never go all in unless it's like a pocket aces. There's an ace on the thing. You know what I mean? He's got a full house, whatever it's going to be. He ain't going all in. He's got to have a royal flush to go all in. You know what I mean? So he's just going to slowly bleed it and play it like that. He's strategic.
Very much like his fighting style.
That's how he is. Like, and I think with his technique, when anytime I've held a pad to him, or it's like unless he'll do it perfectly, he won't really want to do it. So it's like he's puts all his time and energy into like just a few techniques, and you could, teach him a lot of stuff. He's got the capabilities to do a lot of stuff, but I feel like he almost doesn't want to learn a lot of stuff, so he just doesn't. He'll just be like, this is shit. Like, I'll do the next thing. Sometimes you watch him sparring and that, and it's like he's playing with his food sometimes. It's like he didn't do anything. And it's boring sometimes. It's like, what are you doing? Or like he'll just go for a takedown that he doesn't need to go for, and he'll just sit on the guy. He'll just hold him he's got very good like top pressure. Like that's so underrated with him. Really like grimy top pressure. He's good at pinning people down, and if he can do that for 3 minutes and coast, he will do it. He's naturally like what's the word? I won't say lazy, but like path of least resistance. He's risk averse, mate. Like he ain't gonna gamble, man, unless it's a certainty. Do you know what I mean? Even if you gave him like 99.8% certainty, he would still look at you like, don't know if I like them odds. Do you know what I mean? He's gonna want to have like
he wants the sure thing.
The sure thing, and that's how he treats his fighting. Like when he's in there and that everything has to be kind of calculated and measured. And then that's a detriment, I think, at times. But because he is so like naturally athletically gifted and he's so fast, he can get away with it. Because when he hits someone, he hurts them. He's a nasty striker. Like even in sparring, he didn't really pull his punches, doesn't really pull his kicks. He's not a big puncher, to be fair. He's not like a, you know, you don't get hit by him and think, oh fucking hell, it's the kicks. The kicks are what like they hurt. Like you kick you in your body, you kick you in your arm, and he'll kick you in your guard, and it will just make you think, oh fucking hell. And then it's almost like he'll keep you in an area where you're like, I just don't want to do that for it again. So then you'll do as little as possible to almost just survive the round. So he'll keep you in an area where you're almost just happy to just get through a round because you like, I don't even want to take a gamble. So sometimes his sparring partners, people have criticised it, is that like they don't go for it with him much because they're almost just like, 5 minutes, just counting down the seconds in the head. I've got a minute more to go, I'm getting through it. You know what I mean? They're just happy to get out of the cage without being fucked up. But then,
and that's kind of what happened in the Colby fight.
Literally,
right? Colby was kind of so worried about getting stung by Leon because whenever he did come forward, Leon would pull back, crack him with that left hand. And Colby didn't want to engage with that.
No.
Why would you if you get hit cleanly each time?
His grappling is, and also he's fucking massive. Like Rocky, when I first met Rocky, back in, it would have been like 2013, I think. So I used to go to UTC back in the day. I was a sparring partner for guys like Asimov Hack, like way back before like Rocky was even
on the
quite
scene.
An amateur. Yeah, like then he's like obviously slowly paved his way through. And it was when I came back from China that he was like really established then. And he was in the UFC but by that point, and I sparred him, and like I thought, fucking hell, he's good. And funnily enough, this was like 2018 even, and he caught me with a head kick, like just got my hand back. He threw the classic cross head kicks. He's been doing that since like day dot, and that was enough for me to be like, I'm just going to move around, man. Like I'm just literally going to move around, and then I was just happy just to like not have that happen again. Do you know what I mean? And then kind of like almost regroup and then think like, how do I approach that spar next time? Do you know what I mean? I was like, I need to get through this and then think about that at home. Next time this is going to happen because that ain't happening again. Like he'll hit you with like a technique and it will just hurt and it will just keep you thinking about that technique. Do you know what I mean? And you're dwelling on it. You just, that fucking hurt, man. And then by the time you've got like gusto again, he'll do it again. Or he'll switch it, so then he'll take you down. And then, so when you expect, or when you finally like, okay, I'm going to strike now, then he'll take you down and just like, it's super like frustrating. I don't see him getting beaten. As long as they match him the way they're matching him at the minute, I think he's fighting Belal next.
Yeah, I can't see Belal beating him.
Rakhmanov's got a good chance.
Yeah, I think he's the guy. He's the guy in the division
I still
that could.
think he will struggle with Rocky's physicality because Rocky is massive. Like he's walking around now like in the low 90s. You know, for welterweight, it's massive. When he first started fighting, they were talking about him going to lightweight. That's how small he was. He was eating M&Ms on fight week. Like he was just calm with it. He was never a big weight cutter. I think over the last 10 years of consistent training, doing his strength conditioning with Johnny, he's been like a student of the game in that regard. Like he's not really had like big gaps off where he's had like a month out of the gym. The longest he'll probably go is a week. And even if it's funny, like even if we go to do the corner and that, he's not got a fight coming up. He'll go out on the piss the night before, but then he's like, should we go in the gym? And when you go in the gym with him, it's literally like back and biceps or like, you know, he's just doing like bro training. Like, do some biceps, do some dips. Sweet. That's all good. Just like old school weights training. So I think over the time, he's packed on a lot of size. And when you see him now, like his neck and he's tall, he's 6'2", he's got range, he's good physique for welterweight with like his natural speed and stuff as well. It's all come together with his IQ, you know what I mean? Like, so he thinks really like strategically, but then he's got the attributes to back it up. He's got the speed, he's got the power. It's going to take someone like Rakhmonov to try and push him out of his comfort zone. I think that's where you'll see him like maybe like get tested. But I think when you watch Rocky's whole career, he's had all them moments anyway. So like he's been mounted by Gunnar Nelson. He's been in tight arm bars by black belts. He's had like he's been dropped. I remember that Brian Barberina dropped him with uppercut, and he's seen like adversity in all his fights, but he still managed to come out on top throughout like the last 7 or 8 years. So it's going to take someone that's going to have to take a lot of punishment. That's going to have to like put Rocky into a place of uncomfortable, territory that's going to be able to get that out of him. But I still think we haven't really seen him in them places before. So I still think he's got another 2 or 3 gears that we haven't even seen yet. I've not seen Rocky have like toe-to-toe wars. It's not how he fights, but it doesn't mean that he couldn't do it. Doesn't mean that he hasn't got like the mental resilience or the stubbornness. I don't know, it's about stubbornness, isn't it? Of just like everyone that competes, you know, when you're doing jiu-jitsu and that, you get put in a position where you're like, oh, I'm not tapping to this guy. Like, not out of ego, but just like, you know that you can get out of it. There's a difference between being fully locked and extending it's game over, or like in a rear naked choke you can't escape and go to sleep, and then being in one where you're like, I probably could get out of this. I mean, yeah, it's pretty on, but like I could get out of it if I really have to try and exert myself.
That's it. Those moments are like a whole other fight in themselves, aren't they?
And everyone gets
you've got a big spectrum of, you know what I mean, between the choke coming on and you tapping.
Yeah,
there's a lot that can happen.
It's like the other day I was rolling. I think I was rolling with Wes, and I was like, I was so knackered in that. You just giving taps up left, right, center, and you just can't be arsed. I was like, oh, fuck it. I'll just let it pass my guard and that, and just chill here. You know what I mean? Whereas like when you're really competing, you got that mindset, you know, and that stubbornness. You can get punched and cut up and stuff. When you have them moments, you're like, nah, man, I'm not losing today. Like, and Rocky will probably have almost like not your life flash before your eyes, but you know, all the things that have got him there. You'll have them little thoughts in your head. I'm sure he had that when Dave gave him that little speech, and you know, that's why he was overcome with emotion after the fight. Cause it's like, yeah, you've fucking been through loads, man. Like, you're not just going to give that away. You know, someone's going to have to take that from you, and good luck trying to do that. And they've got to be willing to go into a terrible place to probably get that out of Rocky. You know, because he hits so hard and so sharp, like you can't like just disregard it. It's not, you know, you can't just take the body kick and then walk through it. It's like, nah, it fucking hurt, man. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, pain, crippling pain that you're like, okay, I need to take 10 seconds out here and circle the cage. And whilst that's happening, I'm thinking about, like, is he going to follow that up? Because Rocky doesn't, you're almost just like, oh my God, he keeps you in that, like,
state of anticipation.
Yeah, and that's, like, fatiguing and mentally taxing. I think Colby, come round 3, was just like, I just want to get through this tonight.
Yeah.
I want to get paid. And that was kind of my prediction as well. I felt like, because he's had 2 years out, and obviously his run hadn't been fantastic because he'd lost to Usman twice, you know what I mean? And you're in there with a guy that slept that guy and then beat him in the rematch after that. So you've got that in your head. And as soon as you start getting hit and stuff, and you've had your jaw broken in the past, I mean, Colby had shown that he's got a dog in him, but then the dog can get beat out of you. So I think after he's had a jaw, like a surgery, and like people don't understand sometimes that, like, yeah, he got his jaw broken. He had the fight. It was an amazing fight with Usman, and you know, you don't see then 3 months of when he can't eat properly, and then he's thinking, "Do I want to do that again?" Like,
it's in the back of your mind.
It's in the back of your mind, and in your head as well. You're in there already. You're getting paid. I think the fighters get paid when they weigh in. So as long as they fucking weigh in, they don't even have to always fight, because there's fights to pull out on the day and stuff. Because of illness, you'll still get paid. You won't get paid your win money, but you'll get paid your show money. So they're all contracted. So when he's in there and he's like, I'm not getting paid no extra to get my jaw broken. I'm not getting paid no extra to get an orbital broken or a nose broken. And if you think I can just skate through it, then you would, especially when you're 36, 37. You're probably thinking about your life outside of the cage as well. Like, you know, do I need to be doing this? When a guy's 25 and he needs it all, it's the hunger, isn't it? It's like, you need it. You haven't really got a choice. And it's like, if you've never had those jaw surgeries and stuff like that, then you're willing to go for it because you don't really know about that. It's not until you're having them that you think, well, is this all worth it? That's why you rate guys like, you know, Cub Swanson. You ever heard about his story?
No. He's broke his jaw like more than once, hasn't he?
Yeah, more than once. He's had an orbital break. He's broken his hands multiple times. And that's a guy when I think, how's he still going, man? Like what keeps that guy getting in the cage? And he's not even ever been a champion, likely to ever be a champion. Like, I think he gets paid pretty well, but in my head, it's like, I'm sure he's banked enough money to not have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
He obviously wants to do it. Like, he's got the drive in him at whatever age he's at. And that's a guy that, you know, he's built different to me, because I know when I finally retired from competing, I was thinking about those types of things, like long-term health and things that I'm not thinking about when I'm 19, 20, 21, when I'm having a hard fight. Whereas when I'm 28, 29, I'm thinking, fucking hell, like, I've still got a lot of years of life left to live and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? I'm thinking about, fucking hell, I might get dementia. Do you know what I mean? There's mad thoughts that you have.
You start thinking forward to the future.
Forwards a lot more as well, and realising that you haven't got as much time either. So if fucked up stuff happens, it's not like the same thing. When you're 19, you can just start again. You know what I mean? It's like when you're 18 or 19 or 20, you can afford to make a lot of mistakes, because those mistakes, unless you fucking murder someone or do something just absolutely crazy, it's like not going to affect you that much. You can rebuild. Someone described it to me, or I heard it somewhere, it's like a tree. So it's like the decisions that you make early, they do impact like what happens later on. But like the trunk is the trunk, do you know what I mean? Whereas like the longer you go on and the more you're on the branches, those decisions won't change this trunk as much. Do you know what I mean? So it's like them.
That's a really good way of putting it.
I'm just butchering the shit out
No,
of that.
no, that makes a lot of sense.
But it's like 18 to 22. It's like the branches, you can afford to chop them off, you know what I mean? And you're going to grow new ones, it's going to be fine. As long as it's not damaging the trunk, you do the murder, you do the, I don't know, I'm going to do heroin for 10 years. You know what I mean? That's going to fuck your trunk up, man. But like, as long as you know that, your branch decisions aren't going to really affect the trunk, you know what I mean? But so the older you get, the less that they affect that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you've got that foundation, you know what I mean? You've got so much of life behind you.
And then that can go the opposite way as well. So like does Colby losing, like going back to that, I don't know how, doesn't really affect that. He's already done it. He's got the money. He's got the bank. His career is stacked. He's his name. He's made it. So winning the title, does it actually even affect this that much? Whereas Rocky winning the title at his point in his career still affects the trunk a lot, because he wasn't a name. He wasn't like making big money. You know what I mean? He wasn't like, even though he had a big win streak, I mean, fucking hell, how many fights have to win that many fights to get a title shot? Whereas winning the title now, he's a multi-millionaire. So it's like, I saw the difference between him winning the title and him not having one. Some fighters like Paddy Pimblett don't probably need a title. Like the title is going to be like Sean O'Malley, like a super cherry on it. But he's already good.
He was already making good
he's
money.
Already
very
it, man.
popular.
He's popular, and it's like he's got other options, man. He could probably do a movie. He could probably do these other things. But no one's even Rocky a movie role. People sometimes, well, they forget, like, when we was at the Diaz fight, I wouldn't give away his purse because I don't think that's fair, but like, that was like a main event fight, but it wasn't getting the fandom. Like, yeah. I remember going to a Walmart and one guy, he was the guy from behind like the meat checkout, and he was like, "Oh, Leon Edwards, man." He was like, "Can I get a picture of you?" And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's really cool, man. A guy in America knows Rocky, he's a fan. That's fucking cool." That was, before this belt. Then after the title, we was in Milan for Tim and Fabian's fight. Fabian fought, I think it was Charlie Ward, and I think Tim fought Saul Rogers. We go out for a meal in Milan, and it's like he's getting flogged. Like literally, you can't finish a meal. And we're in Italy.
Really flogged.
Well, I'm saying it was embarrassing. Like it was like, fucking hell, I want to eat my food here. And obviously, Rocky ain't taking a fucking picture, is it? So he's like me or the other guy, the guy that no one gives a shit about.
You guys are hard done by. Rocky's there with all the fandom. You just want to have a meal.
Literally, and when we felt really hard done by Rocky as well, I give him the credit, man. He's a proper like patient guy, man. When it comes to that, he gives everyone the time. Like, we was in Dublin for Fabian's world title fight. Rocky's having to go, "That's my brother, by the way. He's fighting for a world title." And then they're like, "Oh, can I get a picture of you as well?" But that's how much the difference the belt made for him. Like, he went from literally being like a guy that some people knew if they were into MMA to being like a household guy. Like, people that really weren't even following the sport anymore were like, "I want an Instagram picture with this guy because he's going to blow up my page for a day and people are going to give me attention." And other people, though, Sean O'Malley, he wouldn't need a title. Or I don't think Paddy Pimblett, he ain't got a title, but everyone already wants a picture with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's his, in the moments, that trunk is like different, innit? You know what I mean? Like Paddy, it's like he'd have to be more worried about saying something controversial and getting cancelled for all his podcasts and shit like that than losing a UFC fight. I don't think that's going to damage his stock as much as that. Whereas Rocky, at his point in time, losing a fucking fight was like,
well, that's everything.
Massively detrimental. That's all I've got now. He was at the point where he's like, all I've got's a fucking win streak, man. Like, I literally don't have anything. I've not got big fan exposure. No one's like championing me to be the next title contender.
Well, that's it. It was. I don't want to say the UFC didn't want him to be champion. I don't think it's that. But they weren't, not pushing him in the same way they were pushing a Sean O'Malley kind of character. So it really was all on the merit of his win streak.
Everything. And that to me is like, okay, now as a trainer, to go on another tangent, as a coach now, I look at things like, if I was using Rocky's brain as like a manager, as a risk averse, when I look at a fighter, I think, okay, I don't want to be a hater and say you can't be UFC champion. Like, that can be possible, but it's fucking really hard, man. Like, it's like,
especially now, man.
Percentages are like, especially like, let's say you're a bantamweight or you're a fucking lightweight. Fuck me, good luck with that. Do you know what I mean? That's like, you might win tomorrow, you might lose. Do you know what I mean? Like the next week, you could be champion one week and lose it the next because the fighters are so good coming through. You know what I mean? And like a guy like Islam's so special, but when you look at like the top 20 in the UFC at lightweight, it's fucking a minefield. Good luck winning 5 in a row in that division. And then, so you think then, okay, so if we're going to like have like a strategic outlook of your life now as someone that might not come from the deprived place that Rocky came from, where he didn't really have any other option, like he had to kind of just go all in it. It's like strategically now, let's try and like make you a profile and build up your popularity. So then winning fights isn't just as important. And then obviously you can still try and win fights. And then maybe even if we can not be in the UFC, we can go to Bellator and probably still get paid, probably even get paid more money unless you're a champion. You know, UFC will always pay more to champions than a Bellator or a PFL. But for the outside of the champions, the mid-tier fighters are getting paid more in the other promotions. Like I don't think Tim Wilde would get paid what he's getting paid in the UFC as what he's getting paid in Bellator now. So then you look at that as a career path to put someone on. You probably want to go that way because it's like hedging your bets, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, okay,
and then you can always move to the UFC,
and that's not out of the question.
Yeah,
so it's like
you kill it in Bellator, you win the world title there,
and then that's it. And then obviously percentage-wise, it's going to be hard to do, but I feel like it's a safer way. And then how can we also, without going to the UFC and maybe getting paid like 12 and 12 to start off with, and having to fight like absolute fucking killers, maybe we go over the other ear and get paid 12 and 12, or even 10 and 10, and fight someone that's a little bit shit. Because, like, no offense to like Michael Benner-Page, but some of the guys that he fought in Bellator weren't fantastic fighters.
Yeah.
They clearly weren't in his level. So he's made bank off of fighting lesser skilled people with no damage. So when he comes out at the other end of his career, that's what we always got to look at. When he's 40 and he's all done, and he's got potentially, with modern medicine, another 40 to 60 years to live. Well, that's a lot more than what you've done in fighting. So you need to be healthy, man. You need to not be all slurring your speech and all sorts of stuff like that. So you've got to try and like get through that minefield with as much options as possible. Like, can you save money, maybe invest in some property, or maybe you do some podcasting and maybe you get some brand deals and maybe you be more of that guy. You know what I mean? Let's work with what you got. You're good looking, like Sage Northcutt or someone, or Paige Van Zandt. Okay, maybe I'm not going to recommend OnlyFans, but like, let's look at some other options. You know what I mean? Like that. I think that's where fighters sometimes have to think about like the whole picture of fighting rather than just the fighting side of it.
And that's so hard, isn't it? Because in their minds, all they're focused on is, you know what I mean, you've got that, talk about that summit, that pinnacle, you're looking at that UFC title, and that's kind of all they're thinking about, isn't it? So I just want to be the best in the world.
The best in the world. And, you know, I mean, saying that now, though, there's the other side of it where, because it is like a viable career path, like when I first started it in these leisure centres and that, like I'd say with that, like, I'm going to be the PD champion, you know what I mean? And win £6,000, you know what I mean? Like, the fuck you do that for? There's like, now obviously you can actually say to your dad, like, Dad, I want to do this. Your dad will probably go, that's probably a good idea, actually. You might actually make loads of money. So there's that side of it where like guys can almost go too influencery too soon as well, and then not put in the time on the mat. So it's like, you got to, going back to the trunk analogy, it's like your trunk is the mat time, man. That's the most important bit. So getting in the fucking gym 6 days a week, doing your due diligence on the mat. And then these other ones are just things that we add to it. So it's like, don't not do them. Because then you just putting all your eggs in this one thing that might not fucking work out. Because we don't know how the fight world's going to pan out. Or you might blow your knee. You just don't know, do you?
Yeah.
So then that would be like, for me, like what I did. I'm trying to fight now at the start. But I'm still going to go to uni. I'm still going to have this job and work this job. Do you know what I mean? And that's just going to be the side thing until I can make it the whole thing. Until that's viable. And then whilst I'm doing that, then I'm still going to try and do a bit of social media. But I'm not going to do more social media than training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless you are like but then maybe that's the other thing. If you're so good at social media than you are at this, just do that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even fight and take the fucking damage down. Like, fuck that. You're getting fucked up. Do you know what I mean? Just do do jiu-jitsu, man, without the injuries and the tape. You know what I mean? With all the taped fingers and stuff. Don't get hit in the head. I would not recommend. You know what I mean? It's such a hard thing to navigate. And obviously, the older I've got, the more I've appreciated that aspect of it, of like, okay, there's bad repercussions to fighting and stuff, and you can die at the end of the day. Like, that, you know, people can fucking die.
It's different to playing football, you know, playing cricket or another sport like that. The ramifications can be so serious with a head trauma, especially, that from my point of view, that was kind of one of my reasons for deciding that I wanted to go all into grappling, because I was never really, you know, talented fighting. I wasn't sure that I wanted to fight. Jimmy said, I think you should have one, just
Jimmy,
see how it was. Anyway, I was like, I never, you know what I mean? I just wanted to train and gain the skills, whereas I looked at grappling and I thought, I think I could actually make something of this somewhere on the line, and I'm not taking the head trauma along with it. So it's important, you can get caught up in the ideal of, I want to be on top of the world.
The romance of it, isn't
it? Exactly.
Yeah,
but between, the romance of the end goal coming to fruition and everything in between, say you even get there's a lot of blood and guts, and you've got to decide.
100%.
To me, how realistic is that summit for me? And what am I going to have to sacrifice to get there? And that's going to be different for every kind of person.
Yeah.
So, going back to Leon, you wouldn't put that cap on Leon. Like, if Leon came to you 10 years ago and said, I want to be UFC world champion, and you looked at how he sparred, you looked at how he was doing, to him, you probably wouldn't say, I think you should focus a lot more on social media and that kind of stuff, because that's not Leon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not something he's naturally talented at. Whereas you look at him fighting, you're like, that's very viable for it. Yeah, that's very viable. Yeah, exactly.
You keep that hat on. The other funny thing is as well, like I'm pretty sure Leon, like, he's never had a job. He's never had a normal job.
Has he not?
He's literally like gone from just being a fucking hood rat. His mum's took him to that gym and gone, do this, and then he just stuck at that. And then obviously the other thing is where Leon's probably does think about, the UTC was brilliant at giving fighters a proper avenue. Because I don't know if you ever went to that facility or seen it. It was
I never made it there. I remember looking at it on my phone when I was in like year 9. I was like 13 years old. I was like, I really want to go here, but I was too young. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mum wasn't letting me go to the local kickboxing gym. Let alone taking me to UTC in Birmingham.
Like when it comes to like business marketing, I know the guy that I actually work at a gym that he co-owns. He owns a share in it. It's called Gym Unity in Tamworth. It's like a weights gym, but they've got a bit of a matted area. Basically, old stuff from UTC. But they created like just a vibe of like, this is the place to be. Do you know what I mean? It was cool. You went in there, like, they had the protein bar, the smoothie bar. They had like, they knew what they're doing. They employed the pretty women behind the counter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To sell you the merch and sell you the fucking energy drink that you want before you go and do your class. And they had all the facility, and even to like the small details, like the lighting, it just looked cool. And the windows around it,
amazing. Like, even on the website,
and that
this looks cool.
Gave people like Leon, like, this isn't just a fantasy. It's not like Conor McGregor, to give him credit. He's in a fucking shed in Ireland.
Yeah.
Like, it's good luck selling that dream to his parents. John Kavanagh, like, you might be here one day. Just like, fucking hell. Whereas that was actually like, no, like, this is a fucking, like, not £1 million facility, but it's a very high end facility.
It looks like a proper business.
Looks like a business. It's clean cut. Like, they had uniforms and kit. And then when they started fighting on the shows, like, Rocky got onto Bama, and that was through like the guys at UTC that had the connections there, and they sold, I think, anything from 300 to 500 tickets for one of the fighters. So obviously for Bama, they were like, fucking hell, that's taking care of a load of our problems. Because obviously the promoters are always trying to cut their overheads, aren't they? Like, they're trying to think, well, it's going to cost me. I think people don't realise sometimes it costs the promoter money to put the fucking show on. So he's already got to spend money before he gets anything back. So for them, it's a risk business. It's like, fucking hell, I'm shitting myself here.
So a lot of money up front. And, the return is very much up in the air.
Especially when you think, like, the fighter's going to pull out, is my main event just going to fucking fall on its arse, and then I'm in trouble now, I'm actually owe money. So when a guy can come to, like the gym, the UTC, could provide this and go, we also have 500 tickets, they're fucking happy fighters on, and then they're providing the fighters with a platform, and they're more likely to match them with better fights.
Yeah.
Not fucking throw them into the lion's den, because like, we're going to keep this kid around because he's selling tickets at the fucking least. And then I'll see if he's got ounce of talent like Rocky, knows to fucking throw a punch and a kick, well, then you're winning, aren't you? So UTC gave them like a legitimate path. It gave them the training facility, like, top of the range strength stuff for the time, like strength conditioning. Even though the coaches weren't maybe the best at the time, Dave Lavelle managed to cut his teeth through the UTC. Like, he was a boxing coach. He didn't know anything about mixed martial arts. But I remember back in the day sparring there, and he looked at me and he fucking hated me because he was like, where's his jab? Do you know what I mean? I was just Thai boxing, kicking and kneeing and shit, and like probably like going into ranges that day was like, fucking heaven forbid, you know what I mean? She's like, what's the word, blasphemy, you know what I mean? And obviously his son was a really good boxer at the time. And he was almost thinking, like, in his head, he's just like, what is this, all this Thai stuff? It's from Thailand in Asia, his old school brain.
was like watching that old school boxer that McGregor brought in, when he was fighting Poirier. And I remember I was watching an interview with him, and like you could tell he just thought kicking was nonsense.
It's just, what? You know what I mean?
And then McGregor gets his car kicked off by Poirier.
That's how far the sport's come along. And obviously UTC was just cutting edge at the time, and it was the right recipe. They had obviously the genetic pool of Erdington, which is like a very multicultural, diverse area. So you've got like Polish guys, tough, hard as nails Polish guys coming in. Then you've got guys from like the Caribbean, like fast twitch muscle guys. Then you've got like your working class boys from fucking the local, like white British classic meat and potatoes guys.
Council estate.
Yeah, but
guy.
that might be good at wrestling, the grimy guys, or good boxing. So you had a good mix of people and a mixing pot that created guys, like Rocky, that were able to come through, gave them a proper avenue. I think the business model that they had though kind of ran its course, and they made a few errors, I would say, because I worked there for 6 months. They made a few errors towards the end, and also because this is the other sad thing about it, because they were doing it like so early. Like Vaughan Lee was almost like not lamb to the slaughter, but
he was like the poster boy, though, wasn't he?
He was the poster boy, but like he was fighting TJ. I was there for the camp when he fought TJ Dillashaw, and in hindsight, like I don't know what TJ Dillashaw was doing in America back then, but I know America had a much more systemized approach to doing things. Whereas they definitely didn't have that at UTC at the time. So as much as they had all the glitz and the glam, they didn't have necessarily that tree trunk, that foundation. So Vaughan was, as much as he was like in the UFC, he was almost still the head coach and still doing this. So it's like he didn't have the guys around him to like give him probably the best opportunity. And then because he was the token UK guy, they fed him to like Asun Sao, Dillashaw. He fought fucking Yuri Alcantara. He fought who was the other kid? Chris Carriasso. He fought all these like guys that went on to be contenders and champions like in his run. So it was a shark tank for him. Like his biggest win was Kid Yamamoto in Japan. But you can't tell me that when they sent Vaughan Lee over to Japan to fight Kid Yamamoto that he was supposed to win that fight by armbar. So that was very much it. And obviously Vaughan paved the way for Rocky in that sense, because he established the connections with the UFC for UTC and those people, and he did pave the way in many ways. So it's like the history of this martial arts. It's interesting, and certain things couldn't have happened without it. Do you know what I mean? But then there were certain still mistakes that happened that probably, prevented other people from doing things. You know what I mean? And like, I don't think Vaughan had the best chance of doing well. But at the same time, without UDC, he would never got there. So it's like, what do? Do you rather get there and maybe not reach the heights you could have, or not get there at all? It's sometimes what you got to weigh up, isn't it? In hindsight. And Vaughan's doing well himself now. I know he's still coaching and stuff like that. But it's you realise that for Rocky, you know what I mean? For Rocky to be Rocky, so many fucking things over the last 12 years had to come together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There is an element of luck ultimately.
You know what I mean? There? The right circumstances. Because I don't know if Rocky would be Rocky UFC champion if he was from Wigan. In Wigan's rugby club martial arts gym. I just don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was at the best martial arts gym in the UK at the time, and even now, I'd say MMA, like you guys at Hardy Wallhead, for example, are like a new era of a proper mixed martial arts gym where you can actually do everything under one roof. Because even to this day, like Rocky outsources coaching. Like he goes to Canby for wrestling, he goes to Henry for striking. So it's not like Renegade still does completely everything at the highest level under one roof. They're getting there, but they're still kind of cutting their teeth. You know what I mean? Like the amateur guys haven't got the funds to go, I want a one-to-one every day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's still this class structure that I still think everyone's figuring out. I don't think there's any gym in the UK that's got like the 100% formula to go like, this is how you do MMA. Like you do taekwondo this day, you do boxing. Everyone's still kind of going like...
That's it. It's getting there. The system's being established, but it's not established.
It's not there yet.
It's not like
to say, we've written the book now. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like that's what Mark says, for example, going to this UFC PI in Shanghai. That's the first thing he said to me that really just struck a chord with me. His first day there, he messaged me, he was like, mate, he was like, I don't feel like I should be here and that. And bear in mind, Mark's fucking class. He's a world-class coach. He's like bias aside that he's my friend, when it comes to like passion, enthusiasm and actually like studying of the sport, that's the guy. He'll put in his time, you know what I mean? He's not just turning up like without winging it. He'll go home and he'll write notes and he'll think about everything like properly. Whereas he's gone there and he's like, mate, this is literally like Real Madrid. It's like Real Madrid. And he was like, and funnily enough, like the Shanghai Performance Institute, their first rodeo at the UFC Contender Series, they went 1 win, 5 losses, which was a bit like, fuck's sake, you know what I mean? Because they've got like doctors of nutrition. They've got like in the middle of a class, they'll wheel on a fucking TV and pause a fight scenario and go, this is what we're doing now. This is this play. Like NFL style, do you know what I mean? And that's obviously the American way of doing it. It comes down to analytics and numbers.
You
Well,
make
how many
it a
jabs
science.
did he land? Yeah, you make it a science. How many jabs is he landing around? Like, how many takedowns from this position is he getting outside double legs? You know what I mean? And it's all becomes statistics then, and then you can kind of like fine tune it and gear people. But even then, they're like Mark was telling me, they're still figuring certain things out. It's like me going over there. I think one of my roles is going to be to help coaches coach rather than even coaching fighters. It's going to be showing like some Chinese guys like, you should hold the pads like this or do it like this, and this is why. You know what I mean? Because I think everyone on a global scale is still figuring that out. Like, why are we doing that? Rather than just like hitting pads without no rhyme or reason just to get you tired. Like, boom, boom, combinations. You know what I mean? Well, why are we doing a combination? Why are you doing that now? Why is he going to switch into southpaw rather than just switching southpaw for the sake of it? Do you know what I mean?
So you're kind of almost going to be like a professor, kind of.
To try and help that.
Yeah.
Which is mad because I ain't a professor, mate. You know what I mean?
Oh, mate, you definitely are.
I don't. That's the funny thing, though. Like me and Joe and Mark, all the same thing. We think, what the hell, man?
Joey says the same thing, like far too modest.
You think about it and I think that's all right. It's like that Bruce Buffer incident, man. When I sat there, he grabbed my leg and Rocky's getting chinned, and I'm looking at Bruce Buffer. And I'm like,
Bruce Buffer's like holding on to you for support as like an anchor.
Literally, mate. Like, oh, I can't handle
Tell me
this
it's going to
moment.
be okay.
yeah. I'm like, I don't know, Bruce. It's fucking wild, man. He'll never even remember that. You know what I mean? That's the other beautiful thing, I think. Sometimes when you break it all down, they're the most valuable things, aren't they? Like having the moments like that. You know, when you just like, you can't put price on stuff like that. You know, Bruce will never remember it, but for me, that was a big thing.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that he did do that. You know what I mean? I'm glad that he was as nice a person as he is too. So that's one thing as well, going back to what you said about Joe and Mark being like humble and stuff. And the number one thing I would hope to carry for everything is like never trying to think I was too good to help someone or think I was too good to, you know what I mean? Like, show someone that
too good for people.
You could.
Yeah,
It's
like
important,
I'm wasting my time showing this.
Yeah,
person,
exactly.
This technique.
And there is like it's funny that there is like a line to that because I have had guys with like, I always go back to the tracky bottoms, man. I have a guy come up to me with tracky bottoms. I had a guy not long ago, man, and he, bless him, and that he come in and he's a mind coach. Basically, I felt like he was using me to try and get in with fighters to be a mind coach. And he's a nice guy, and I think he's good at what he does, but he doesn't really know about combat sports. And he came out with theories that like the one example was that he looked at me. Bear in mind, we're doing like a 1-2 on the pads, and like he's not doing it very well. It's a bit clunky now. He's hurting my arms a bit. I'm trying to fucking out. And then he goes, "What would you do if you had a man and he just never went backwards, and all he did was go forwards?" And I went, "What?" And he was like, "He'd be unbeatable. Nobody could stop him." And I just went like, patted him on the back and was like,
giving you philosophy in the middle of a pad session.
Let's just do the 1-2, mate. And then I think a few days later he texted me and that, and I didn't book him in, bless him. I thought, I can't deal with that today.
Yeah.
Like, not that I'm above him, but I was like, I'm just not in the place for that type of conversation. And like, I guess you do it as well as a PT. Sometimes you have the humour conversation that you're like, just part of the job, isn't it? You have to be a good talker. You have to make people feel at ease.
Some people come to you as well. Part of it, they want to get a physical workout in, but some of them just kind of not want mental therapy. That's kind of like assigning yourself a role that's not yours. But some people just want to get stuff off their chest. Just kind of, they want relief from the missus or the kids or.
But that's what's good. You said like, I don't want to assign myself that because it's a dangerous thing where there's people out there. Listen, your PT's saying, leave your wife, mate. She's fucking crap.
Yeah.
You
need to go forward.
Yeah.
Not go back.
You need to go forwards, man. You fucking quit that job and you could chase that dream. And next thing you know, the guy's fucking like messaging you 2 months later, like, bro, I got no money. My missus left me.
You could be UFC champion. Yeah. Quit your job. How many people do you get say that to you?
No, to be fair, like I don't get stuff like that because the people that usually will say insane stuff are actually mostly unhinged. Like, the gym I'm at now, because it's a public gym, like there'll be people, like classic example the other week, bearing in mind, it's like I always text Fabian or something, if I see a particular one, I'll go like, I've got a sparring partner for you, and I'll just send him a little video of the guy. Because there's a guy and he tied a pad to the corner post of the ring, and I can see him, and he's looking at me, and he's making sure that I know what he's doing. You know what I mean? He's doing spin kicks on it and that. And then I was like, I'm not even going to use the ring today. Like, I don't need it. He can have that ring. That's his. Then he comes over to make sure I go like, I'm all right to use the ring, yeah? Yeah. You carry on. You do your thing. Then he's like putting like hand wraps across the ropes, and he's doing all these bits and pieces. Then he got to a point where I can't remember what he says to me, but along the lines of like, look at what I can do now. Imagine what I could do with a coach. And I was just like, yeah, like, you carry on, mate. I'm not even segueing into the how much is a PT conversation with you, because you are not the full shilling.
Yeah.
I think if I was to teach you anything, it would be dangerous. It's like a danger to the public.
Yeah.
You don't need to know anything.
It's like Jordan Peterson says, become a monster and learn how to control it. I don't want to make you a monster because I'm not sure you're able to handle
you cannot
that.
control power. Was it Uncle Ben? Great power, great responsibility.
Yeah.
You have no responsibility there. I cannot trust you. One of my old bosses used to say his line to me all the time. He used to go, I wouldn't trust you with my pet budgie, and I haven't got one. He'd say that to me all the time. In the building site back in the day, and I just look at him, you wanker. It makes me feel about that big. But there's genuinely people out there that unfortunately are not like mentally strong enough to do martial arts and be in that environment. You know, there was a guy, I don't know if you saw him, an amateur fighter, and he fought a guy from Hardy Wallhead, Tom, and he got knocked out with the punch.
I
can't remember his name now, but I've sparred with him.
Mr. Fantastic. His Instagram name is Mr. Fantastic.
Yes, and he is
Jerome.
He is a lovely kid, like really, really nice guy. But I think basically, from my gatherings, that like he's not the most mentally like stable person, maybe to put it. So they've had to like navigate him, and like maybe competition isn't for him purely because like the mental stress of it all, and the repercussions of like obviously he clowned around a bit. I'm sure he might have pushed someone at the weigh-in and stuff like that. Yeah,
well, he was just kind of giving a lot of trash talk, creating a lot of animosity out of basically nothing. And he was, things he was saying on Instagram. You looked at him, you're like, okay, you clearly there's something going on behind the scenes. And you're not just getting hyped for a fight. There's something unstable.
And the other worrying thing about him is I sparred that kid, and he's good.
That's when he is good.
Worryingly good. I remember seeing him, and I was just like, he's like a Rocky genetics. That pool, whatever that gene pool is, he got it. You know what I mean? It's like, but that's the difference with Rocky. Was Rocky's really good up here, not just like he's in strong, and he's quite normal. Like he thinks.
He seems like a very steady person.
Quite steady Eddie. And then there's other people that stress and stuff isn't great for them, and like martial arts is fucking stressful. It's like the most stressful thing that you'll do. I remember going back on another tangent. I remember the Ultimate Fight, like way back, and this guy came out with a skin rash, this terrible skin rash, and then he got called to the medical room, and they weren't sure if it was contagious and stuff like that. And then the medical staff say like, it's like these hives or something, but it's caused by stress. And then the Dana White comes in and he goes, bro. He goes, it's caused by stress, and you're doing a stressful job in the fucking world. He's like, this obviously isn't going to work, is it? Like,
I can imagine him saying
you've got a condition caused by stress, and you're literally doing the most stressful thing a human can do. And that is the fine line with things sometimes, is like, because it is inherently so stressful, because it is an individual sport, once you're in there, and like you essentially take all of the negatives, as much as you take all the positives, you also take the negatives. Some people, that's not good. Do you know what I mean? It's like competition. And for that person,
it is either going to make or break you, isn't it? It's either going to help you build stronger, build a stronger mentality, or it's just going to really break you down and make you.
That was an example. Another thing where I was learning as well of like, and I think Jamie, because they're wicked at its first Legion gym. Like Jamie, old guy, Charlie O'Neill, they're like the fucking salt of the earth people. They're so nice and that, and I think they've really like taken care of him, and they've realised that he needs the gym. I don't know if he's still training, to be fair. So like you wouldn't want to like ostracize him and say you can't be in the gym. But it's like you maybe can't compete.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can come down to tactics, and I've done it in the past. I was like going back to another story. Like back in the past, we had this guy come to the gym with his kid, and he was a bit of a delusional one. He was an older guy. He was like 38, 39, and he wants to start competing. Right, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to put limitations on you.
Yeah.
Because I'm not here to do that, but. It's a bit quite late in the day, do you know what I mean? And then he was not only like a bit delusional, but he was shit. And like I was like, So what we did was we just like, oh, fucking hell, how can we like shut him up, mate? He keeps asking us and asking us when can I do the next like amateur fight show. And then I go to him, right, if you do this for I said, if you train like 5 times a week, I think for 8 weeks, we'll put you on this event, thinking he would never do it. And he fucking did it. Like, literally, we were like, Jesus Christ, like, he's fucking doing it.
You can't deny these people.
You can't
deny those people.
Funny enough, so you put him in this fight, and he got fucking stitched as well. It was one of these amateur fights where, like, they kind of wing it on the day, where, like, they're just matching people up by weights on the day and a bit of experience. And then he ended up having to have a switch around with the match, and he fought someone that had, like, 2 fights, but, like, a 22-year-old who was clearly, like, wanted to do it properly.
Yeah.
And it's not the white collar thing where we're all agreeing that we're hobbyists, because that didn't exist then. It was like, this is an amateur. So there's unfortunately guys that might just want to try it, whilst there's also guys that want to think about being UFC champion. So he fights this kid, and it was like the first 20 seconds now, the kid just like throws like a 1, 2, 3, like da da da, like screams with every punch. And then the guy looks at us, he took an 8 count, like the referee jumps in because he didn't take it very well. He looked at us and just shook his head at me and Asian were like, oh my God. And then obviously, like, we took him out, like, he got stopped pretty quick. Fortunately, because it was amateur, the ref was good, and he recognised that we didn't need to see him get knocked out.
Yeah, we'll
just stop it here. Yeah, and then that was it for him. That was his story. And I think that was actually semi-successful in the fact that he got the reality check of like, oh yeah, probably not a good idea if you just start combat sports as a competitor at 39. You know, like, that's probably not your path, and you thought it was, but it's not. But then there's other people where, like, that could really send them the other way, where it's like they're in a depression now all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And they're like, their mental health's coming into play. And that's where, like, being a coach, even like a personal trainer, you're dealing with someone on a basis where they're doing something that for them is so important, and it becomes so much a part of their identity that you're like skating them lines where you're like, you are like a therapist, and then you have to kind of be aware of that. You can't turn.
It's a lot of responsibility.
It is a responsible job.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
people's
like,
physical health, their physical safety.
Yeah,
looks like it has ramifications beyond the physical. The way it's going to affect them mentally, spiritually, if you want to call it that, but emotionally, definitely, it can be a very serious thing. So it's like you said, skating that line, towing that line,
towing the line, man, and just being like, I need to, especially when I was coaching at like 22, you know, like. And I think I did quite a good job, do you know what I mean?
You started coaching very early on, didn't you?
Yeah, so like now I'm 33, but then I look back at some of the, like that decision for me and Adrian to put that guy in there, now was like an older man with a bit more like, no, like, you're not doing that.
Yeah, a
like,
bit more authority.
Whereas I felt like at 22, how can I speak to a 39-year-old and tell him, like, no,
not
allowed.
You're not allowed to.
Yeah, you're not allowed to. Yeah. So we were like, that was a dangerous thing really, where it's like, yeah, I was a young man, and I didn't feel like I had the experience to be, or like the authority to be telling someone what they could and couldn't do. Whereas you do need, especially mixed martial arts gyms, you need your jimmies, like your adults in the room. You know what I mean?
The authoritative figure.
Yeah, that can pull off someone with going too hard and sparring, like, and go, no, that's fucking not allowed. Like, rather than being like, do I intervene here? He's getting a bit beaten up. Maybe I should say something.
You give them kind of like a half-assed, calm down a bit.
Yeah, literally. And you know where I saw that the most, which is fucking crazy? That was Tiger Muay Thai. I was there last January, and the fucking sparring there was like out of this world, because there's all these like meathead Russian guys, like juice to the gills and stuff. They're like intimidating figures. And I looked at the one coach, and he was literally that guy. He was like, he's getting punched, and the guy is screaming, and he's in full mount. He's flattened him out, and he's not really responding. He's just too much. And I was thinking, mate, fucking step in, man. The guy's
so interesting you say that, because I had, Chris Radcliffe, one of the fighters at the gym, had him on a couple of weeks ago, and he did a lot of time at Tiger Muay Thai, like back in the day, like 10 years ago. And
that was when it was good.
Yeah, well, that's okay. That's what I was going to say or imply. Yeah. Like, obviously, something's changed, because he was saying back in the day how organised everything was, how good the trainers were, making sure the sparring was correct and very authoritative. But yeah, I guess something changed.
Basically, the Hickman brothers, I can't remember who the other coach was, and then even the strength and conditioning guy, I think his name's Woody, they've all opened Bangtown now. So they were like they were like the adults in the room, and they're the authority figures, and they've moved and opened Bangtown, which is now like the new
kind
place.
of taken Tiger Muay Thai under a different name.
So Tiger's still got like the name, and it's still like, don't get me wrong, like there's still good training to be had in there, but I definitely wouldn't send Wes in there on his own. I think like you need to be established. If you're established, you can go in there, hold your own. You got bodies, you know what I mean? You're probably not going to learn any new techniques. You've got some fantastic bodies in there from all over the world. Guys as well, that if you want, like sometimes a guy needs, especially in this type of sport, you sometimes to spar someone and not think about their feelings. Like,
take the human out of it.
That's the place, you know what I mean? Sometimes you go there, and I went to Holland back in the day, and that's what that was, man. That was just like, I went to Mike's gym, and that was like hell on earth in terms of that. It was insane. Like, I just felt like a dog soldier.
I think Joe told me a story about that once, about Overeem.
I could tell you a lot about that. Yeah. Like, fuck it. Yeah, that was actually my first encounter with like a superstar. I was like, I think it was 2013, and I went into the shower, and
this is the story that Joe told
man.
me.
Yeah. And then I'm like, there's guys in there. There'll be a match. One guy was doing the impression of Spartan 300s at the time. That's a big movie, and he was going, "This is Sparta," and I'm thinking, "Fuck me, this is mental." The next thing you know, Alistair Overeem walks out in a fucking pair of boxers. This is a Ubereem as well. This is when he's fucking jacked, full of juice. And he goes, "Has anyone got any shower gel?" And he looks directly at me, and I'm panicking like, "Fuck, I need to get some shower gel, man." I'm looking for my bag. I'm like, "Oh shit, I haven't got any." I'm looking for, I haven't got any. And he was disgusted, bro. He just left me there, walked away. And that was like, set the tone for my stay at
It sounds like a prison story, don't it?
Yeah, it was fucking. And then the sparring was like that. And Mike did a thing to me where basically a few guys tried to knock me out. He put me with all the heavier guys. They couldn't knock me out. And like the one kid, I can't remember his name now. But basically, the spar escalated, and it was like, it would have gone viral now if it was on Instagram, because I don't know, he's screaming, he's throwing his head kick. He did something, or he said something. I don't know what he said, because it was all in Dutch. And then everyone else kind of slowly stopped sparring and started to watch what we were doing. And then even like the parents started coming over from like this other class to watch what we were doing. And then in my head, as I'm sparring, I'm like, this is going mental, isn't it? And I was like, I just need to get through this fucking round, man. So I started doing like nasty stuff. I was trying to knee him in his head and all sorts, and just trying to fucking get through the round. And then at the end of the round, I thought like, oh, okay, you know, we'll be cool now. He literally threw his gloves on the floor. He took his gloves off, stormed out the room, shouting in whatever language he's shouting. It must have been Dutch.
Who was this, sorry?
Fuck knows, man. Just some random guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'd seen, ironically as well, I'd seen him cleaning the day before, like with a vacuum cleaner. And I thought it was hilarious because, like, at the time, I think I said something. You know, you're trying to find like a friendly phrase. I'll try and speak to people like that because I think, well, you're not like a scary guy. And then in the sparring, it all changed. You know what I mean? He was a fucking kickboxing killer or something, and he was obviously really good. And but I got through the round, put it on him. I think I gave as much as I took. Because he was so pissed off that he didn't knock me out, he just fuming. He just threw all this shit on the floor, kicked all these things off. Then Mike, I knew I'd done something good though, because Mike went, "Good job." And he's eating his grapes on the box. I looked at him. I remember thinking, I don't like you, mate. Just like Jabba the Hutt sat there on the box with his grapes, just like fight to the death, like Caesar it was. Just, you know, I got the thumbs up on that occasion. But I thought, fucking hell. And in my head, I was like, if I stay here very long, I'm going to be a mess. You know what I mean? Like, my long-term health ain't going to last. So I'm going to get out together. All these Russian guys have that, like, community. And then they kind of make it known that, like, you're just not one of us. You ain't got a chin strap.
They're very cliquey.
Yeah, you went with us, mate. Do you know what I mean? And then that element of, like, if you're an established guy and, you know, sometimes you might be in a camp and you just want hard sparring. But then if you're in your gym with your mates, you don't want to be knocking out your mate or, like, choking them out or whatever. But then you're in a place like that and you kind of got free reign to do that. It's like the guy's going to hit you as hard as what you're trying to do anyway. So he's trying to do that to you. So it's like a fight essentially. But because it is like that, I would not want one of my students to go there unsupervised on their own, or like, unless I felt like they were, you know, like Hamzat can do it, he's going to chin everyone, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? If you're Rocky, who's going to beat Rocky? So it's like pretty safe.
It's a good training session for you to practice.
Yeah, you could just literally, you want to go like this to me, safe, boom, no problem. But like for everyone else, for us mere mortals, it's not going to be fun. Do you know what
I mean? So yeah, we've talked about Leon a lot. We've mentioned Fabian a couple of times. I wanted to ask you about Fabian. Obviously, you came up short recently against Evelyn for the title.
Yeah.
I just wanted to kind of pick your brain as to what you think Fabian needs to do to just take that next step, because obviously he's at that level now where he is at a championship level.
Yeah.
Is it a case that he just came up short and it's just working himself round to another crack, or do you think there's something he needs to do specifically to take him up to that next level to secure that title?
I think his next fight's going to be the make or break. I can't give it away. I don't think it's been announced yet. But basically, the only way I can describe it, he's fighting like a budget Johnny Eblin. It's like Johnny Eblin from Wish. Okay. He's good, but like he's not Johnny Eblin good, because Johnny Eblin's like a special athlete. He's physical. He's obviously very talented in terms of, like, he's physically strong, but he's very talented as well. He's actually got good fight IQ. Like, he knows what he's doing in there. Striking's good. Wrestling's obviously next level. He's the the wrestling coach at American Top Team. But then he's also got that dog in him. Like he's just got that champion thing because he was effectively losing that fight against Fabian, and he still managed to get the job done. He took his gamble. Do you know what I mean? Whereas a lot of guys, like what we saw with Colby Covington, he wasn't willing to take the gamble. Whereas Johnny Ebden was like, I'm getting fucked up a bit here. My face is hanging off my head. I'm champion already, but I want to keep that, so I'm going to go and do something about it. And he did. So Fabian learned in that moment as well. Like, I could only give you what we experienced with the cut, because we didn't know. And I learned a lot as being a coach from that, because when everything's going on, you've got a minute in between rounds, and sometimes you're not quite sure what's happening. So I remember looking at Rocky and going, is he bleeding? Oh yeah, he's bleeding. It was only a little bit. So we knew he was cut, but we didn't know how bad. In hindsight, had we stopped to like look at the screen and see how open it was, we would have told Fabian maybe something different. Fabian, on the other hand, was like, I've cut him. And he was standing in front of him, so he's like, my man's face is hanging off. Like, so I think that then put him in a different mindset of like, I've almost won. The ref's going to stop that. So he's come back to the round. He's distracted. He's looking over his shoulder. His brother's going, Fabian, like, concentrate. And then we're thinking like of a game plan. I was like, this kick's working. Maybe do this instead. And like Rocky had his tactics that he was giving him. But really, we should have been like, bro, like, maybe just run away for a few minutes and just jab and move. Like, don't even try and engage with him. Do you know what I mean? Because that cut was so bad, it would have been stopped 100%.
Play it out.
Literally. And that's only something that hindsight can give you. And then the other feeling was when I watched it back and what other people have said to me, like even like my missus at the minute, who's not a fight like fan, she don't know nothing about it, but sometimes her opinion's the best one.
Yeah.
She goes, why don't you just do this? Because it's just super simple usually. And it's usually like, you're right, do you know what I mean? Like, that's actually a good point, just something basic and simple. It goes back to, I'm pretty sure Einstein said it, where he goes like, if you can't explain a theory to a child, then you don't understand it. Do you know what I mean? And that's what that is sometimes, that person's perspective is right. It might be super basic, but there's truth in it. So her was like, why doesn't he just go more? Why doesn't he just do more? I think Fabian learned from that experience, he needs to believe in himself more. And the other thing that he's got going against him that his brother hasn't got is they're bigger hitters at his weight class. Like, there's less room for error. Do you know what I mean? Whereas at welterweight, especially Rocky's a very big welterweight. Fabian's not the biggest middleweight. Like, he doesn't cut that much weight. He's a unit, don't get me wrong, out of the camp. But he's not as tall as, let's say, Rocky is for his weight. He's just not got the same attributes. So I feel like he has even less room for error. And he's not like, he's a very, very big kicker. Again, he's got the probably the hardest kick I've ever padded for. But he's not like got one punch. Oh, way more.
Yeah,
crazy.
wow.
Like Rocky's kick is snappy and sharp and horrible, but Fabian's is heavy. Like, it moves you, man. It's horrible. Like, sometimes through the pad, like, I have to take a break after because he kicks the pad. Yeah. I have to shake my arms out because he really hurts you, man. So he's a psychopath. He obviously, every time he gets that reaction, he enjoys it.
Yeah, yeah.
So, like, because of that sometimes, though, like, I'm holding pads for him and I'm almost like, bro, you don't understand how, like, dangerous you are, man. Like, you just got to go more.
Let it fly.
Yeah. And when he was an amateur, I think he was 10-0 as an amateur with, like, 10 knockouts. And he's been prison, Fabian has. So he's got like a street mentality. And that's not to like, when I say street mentality as well, he just had an immature mentality back in the day. But as far as like having a fight goes, for Fabian, a fight is literally just like, there's nothing to it.
A walk in the park.
Literally, like after the Eblen one, he's looking at me and Dave. We took him to one side. He's actually very upset and stuff like that. Because it was more, not because he lost, not because of the way he lost, but just the stakes. And I think he'd obviously envisioned like, oh, I want to not step out of his brother's shadow in that words. I don't think he feels like he's underneath his brother, but just to be equal.
Yeah, join his brother.
Join it,
Leon's
you know what I mean? I'm a world bloody champion as well. And then also the history of being two brothers from Birmingham, two world champions in two of the biggest promotions in the world, or the two biggest promotions in the world. It was just a fairy tale, you know what I mean? And I think it's just sad that couldn't come to fruition then, at that particular moment in time, when it felt like it would have just been perfect, because Rocky had not long defended his belt and stuff, so it just didn't happen. But he just needs to believe that he can go more. Do you know what I mean? And what also is different about him and Rocky is that they're different styles almost. They're similar, but they're different as well. Like Fabian's hits harder than Rocky. Fabian's like, even though obviously that fight he got dropped and stuff like that, he's more game than Rocky. Like Fabian, with Rocky, it's almost like you want to, like, let's say we're in a car, like with Rocky, everyone's like pushing the gas.
Yeah.
Whereas like with Fabian, I'm the gas, Lavelle's the brakes. That's how it seems to be working. Like Dave's almost slowing him down because Fabian will, and sometimes I've got to be the brake as well because Fabian will, if I told him to come out and do a scissor knee into a spinning elbow, he'd probably do it.
Yeah.
Because for him, fighting is just like, back in the yard at prison or whatever, it's just another day at the thing. So outside like the emotional side of it, the actual physical side of it, he's not really got much fear with that. And he's very game. He's very willing to exchange. So I think for that particular fight, we were watching it. I watched it in slow motion. And it was the one particular thing that stood out to me was Fabian at one point, he slipped a shot and then came back with an elbow. And like something that's unhuman, like the reactions on that is you can't create that. That's just, I don't believe in God, but God given, mate. Do you know what I mean? That's you. Whereas Johnny Ebden at one point, he got hit with a shot and then did like 2 slips after. So I'm like, he's reacting after the fact.
Yeah.
So that shows you in slow motion the difference in reactions.
It's like Jedi mind tricks, isn't it?
Literally, you've got like such an advantage that nobody can replicate because that's just your genetics. So you need to capitalise on that. So when in the early going, in the first 2 minutes, where Fabian makes him miss a low kick, makes him miss, he doesn't do anything. It's like you need to get straight away now, like make him miss, make him pay, and then follow up on that. You need to be able to impose yourself a bit more because
establish that lead.
Establish it. So when he got knocked out, he was also allowing Johnny to come onto him, and he tried to exchange in the back foot. He made like a tactical error. He threw a knee, and then he threw a hook, and he was kind of spinning as he threw the hook, and the punch caught him, and his feet were out of position, so he didn't have a strong base under him. He dropped, and then like he was completely aware. And this is how I knew he was okay because after the fight, he had no memory loss, so he wasn't like badly concussed as much as he did get shut off and that. And that was what I was talking about earlier. He's going to me and Dave, why'd they stop it? Like, let me go out, man, let me go out. It's like, Fabs, would you mean let me go out? I said, no, because I'd throw in the towel, but I know if I threw in a towel for Fabian or Dave threw in a towel, he would really resent us for that. He's literally like made us say, like, no, let me fucking fight. Do you know what I mean? That's how he views it.
Until the ref calls it.
Until the ref calls it. And in that view, he's like, why did the ref call it? I'm like, mate. And then Dave says to him, it's the funny, Dave's really good at one-liners. Dave goes, bro, this ain't the shutting off business. This ain't the business of being shut off. And then Fabian thought about it. We're like, yeah, he's like, you got to fight again in 6 months, mate. Well, what's the point? What's the point in that? Like, just to say that you couldn't fight no more, to have no doubt in your mind. Whereas you've come out now, yeah, you lost, but you're completely healthy. You know, it's still not good to get knocked out. You still probably need time off from sparring and contact because it still is technically a concussion. But he had no concussion symptoms, so he didn't feel sick, had no memory loss, remembered walking back from the cage to the changing room. I don't know how much you spent time around concussion.
I've had 3 concussions, so I know what they're like.
They can be, like, symptoms
horrible.
Can be scary and worrying. You know what I mean? The first time you experience someone else going through that, it's very worrying. Like, I had a fighter once and he got knocked out with a head kick and he just kept repeating himself to the point where, like, it was like 2 hours and I was like, fucking hell. And I've had a fighter getting sick all the time, like physically throwing up, and that's worrying because you're like, and then when the doctor tells you, as they do, just don't let him fall asleep, and you're like, fucking hell, that's on my shoulders now. So this guy could pass away.
Yeah, that's me. From my experience, doctors are kind of very blasé about.
I know.
About
you're like,
concussion.
I remember, like, you know, bear in mind, sometimes like, yeah, I'm in my early 20s, man. The kid's just been completely flatlined. The doctor goes, so if he goes to sleep, don't let him do that. And if he explains that he feels sick and stuff, bring him straight to hospital. And like, okay, so hold on, this is all on me now. Like, what? Like, should he just go with you if it's that bad? But it's like the doctors, they don't really believe in, it's like prevention. It's more like once it's happened, then we'll deal with it. Yeah,
medicine's all about curing the problem.
Let's wait for him to convulse on the floor and then we'll give him the medicine. At the time, I was like, can we not just keep him overnight? Maybe, because you're worrying me now. But obviously, the more time I've spent with it, the more I've realised like what just like a normal concussion is. It's always worrying, it's always horrible, but I know how to deal with a person when they're in that situation, like how to calm them down, how to just ride it. You know, they're going to ask me that question and I'm just going to have to keep answering them the same way every time. I'm going to have to keep calm because when they're in that state, they keep forgetting. So they just don't know what's going on. Like the one lady kept reliving it and kept crying and stuff like that. So going back to Fabian was like, nah, I remember what happened and that. I should have done this. He was explaining his technical sequences and we were re-watching it at the bar. We've all got a few drinks and stuff. I don't think Fabian had a drink, to be fair. And he was showing Bradley Hill, the jiu-jitsu coach. And I don't know if you met Bradley Hill.
Yeah, I haven't met him. I know.
Mate, he's the best. The way he speaks, he's like, okay, so when he did this, you put your hand there. What you should have done is this. And me and Fabian and Bradley are watching him get like knocked out. You know what I mean? Bear in mind, my missus was crying because she was like, I can't see that.
Yeah.
I mean? Fabian's like, oh yeah, I fucking shouldn't have done that, should I? So that's his mindset on it. He's like,
and that's a brilliant mindset to have as a
fantastic. And like, I'll go back to the example of like Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao fought Marquez multiple times, got knocked out, like terrible knockout, horrendous, like, you know, devastating knockout, and then came back to win however many fights after that. Like, I don't know how many he won, like 10, 11. He didn't like question his chin or anything. He maybe fought slightly differently, maybe fought, you know, and I think he even said actually he fought more to preserve his opponent because he said he felt bad. So he felt more compassionate towards his opponent because he was like, because that happened to me and that never happened to me before. I felt really bad things. I've done that to loads of people. So then I thought,
he was still able to win.
Yeah. So I think he fought like Algieri and I think he dropped him 6 times, but he just didn't quite go for the kill. Whereas young Pacquiao was all about just getting him out of there. So it changed him ironically for that, but it didn't make him think about his chin. And when I spent a lot of time with Thais in Thailand, like they accept, I think it's an Asian mentality as well. They accept that it's just part and parcel of the sport, rather than I think the Western mindset is like, oh, you're finished, your chin's gone, or this, that, and the other, which obviously can happen with age. You know, you do see it with some fighters, they just fall off the edge. And obviously, you know, the other thing is I think if fighters have been doing hard sparring for too long and rush back into things, and that probably is going to have a negative effect. If you do everything right medically and you can't do anything more, then you give yourself enough time to recover in that, then you should be okay. And Fabian's got that mindset where he's not thinking about it like that. He's like, now I'll do all the right things, I'll take my time off, I've not sparred for however long, I've done everything that I physically can, but get me back in there. And he's like, I can beat Evelyn, man. I want that fight again. I just got to get back to that fight. And I think whilst he's got that mindset, that's everything. He hasn't got knocked out and then start questioning everything and again throw the baby out with the bathwater and think, oh, I need to do all new training and change it. He's like, nah, I was doing wicked in that fight. I just need to do more of what I was doing good because I can do that. So if anything, it gave him probably a bit more confidence to think next time, rather than giving that guy that too much respect, maybe, I'm just going to go at him a bit more. So I'm hoping that this next fight will be that make or break where, touch wood and that, we're probably going to see the best version that you've ever been. And that was the other sad thing about that fight, because we had the Masasi fight before that, and that was the first fight where I properly had a full camp with Fabs. I think I had 10 weeks in for that fight, and he schooled him. It was literally like, it was so easy. We were just there in the corner, and like me and Rocky, anything he said, we could just see what Masasi was looking for, and we had all these little codes that would say, oh, he's looking for this now, do this, step off. And some people think it was boring, but for us, it was like, man, you just literally beat a legend.
One of the most prolific strikers.
You know what I mean? Dangerous guy, man. You beat him in third gear, and you made him resort to like playground tactics of trying to like knee you in the head on the floor and like kick you in the nuts and stuff. Like he was resorting to tactics because he was frustrated. So that was the best version of Fabs. We built on that. And then in the Evelyn fight, if you watch the first, second round, like, and take the bias out of it, you can just see that he's doing really well, and he's making Evelyn think. So he doesn't need to change anything. He just needs to do more of it. And hopefully, touch wood, will be a world champion.
No, I feel pretty confident in his chances. I mean, like I say, he was just at that cusp, and there's so many variables. Obviously, it didn't go his way that time, but I look forward to seeing him back in that position, because I think the world title it's never inevitable, but I think Fabian belongs with a title around his waist.
For UK martial arts and a history for them two brothers, from nothing more, for them two brothers, just for what they've come from, it's just amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a positive story to look at. Two brothers that come through shit to go on to both be like respectable members of society for one, and then like world champions, money. You know what I mean? What more can you ask for? Yeah.
Kind of quick fire question to finish. Give me your 3 top tips for anyone that wants to get half decent at striking. What are your recommendations?
Turn up to the gym. Listen to your coach. Do not go in there and tell your coach what you think you need to learn. Do not do that. And more importantly, like, love it. Don't think about where you're trying to get to. That's the worst thing, because you'll get burnt out. Just the process. You know, saying trust the process. Enjoy that. If you can go to the gym and fall in love with it and just enjoy the actual bit. Like when I look back when 16 and just going in the gym and having a laugh, not even thinking I was doing the technique, but it wasn't necessarily for a reason. I was just enjoying being in that environment. So like the boys that I go to gym with you now and just enjoy hanging out with you and enjoy hanging out with Jimmy and feel a part of something and have a social element to it. That's just going to be a recipe to be good.
That's great. Thank you for that, Dave. That was a great conversation. No, but I could have carried on all day asking you. Yeah, I feel like we could definitely do another one at some point. We didn't even get to obviously your kind of whole fight career. But that'll be a story for another time. Thank you, man. Really appreciate that.
Yeah, good stuff.